Can you do me a favor and just put something in the chat for me? I want to see if I could see that. I'm not sure if I can on Google though.
It should be to the right of you, the little people sign. Well, no, I don't know if that was it.
Yeah, when I'm sharing though, it maxes everything out.
Don't worry about the chat. I'll man the chat, okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
You just do your thing.
Cool. Let's get right into it. Boom, boom. What's up, guys? Man, appreciate everybody coming out. You know what I'm saying? Jumping on this call tonight, talking about some real estate. I'm talking about something very passionate to me because, quite frankly, wholesaling real estate definitely has changed my life. I'll get more into my background here in a second, but man, this strategy, when I learned it, it was very intriguing, man. And to this day, I'm still flipping contracts. You know, again, I'm transitioning to buying wholes and different exit strategies when it comes to real estate. But wholesale, I'm definitely gonna keep it in my side pocket, man, because it's such a lucrative tool to really create some sort of settlement in 30 days or less is very powerful for sure. So I want to really kind of go over like a very rudimentary basic guide to wholesaling, because you could get really deep into certain aspects of wholesaling, but the concept itself is very straightforward and simple for some that have already done some, and for the people that might be brand new into it. So let's jump right into it. So real quick, again, my name is Kareem. I'm 27 years old, from a town called Upper Darby, which sits on the right outside of West Philadelphia. Currently living in South Jersey. All of my wholesale deals and properties I have bought to this day have been out of state in Ohio. I've been doing this business 100% virtual with an engineering job for the past, I'd say, 2.5 years. I actually just fired my 9-to-5 job last month, but during that time, I've been leveraging that. I know something Najee has taught me too, big time. The way to look at it is that 9-to-5 has been my investment partner, right? It's been paying the bills, all the day-to-day, expenses. That way I can really reinvest my real estate money 100% of the time. So from that first check, the second, third, fourth, fifth, I've been recycling that real estate money to buy property, wholesale more deals, put into market, and hired assistants. That way I was able to really kind of expedite and accelerate my business in the past couple of years. So yeah, I'm at this point, I'm a little bit, again, 2.5 years into my entrepreneurship journey altogether. So, when I started this, I was brand new to real estate. I was brand new into entrepreneurship, something very different than what I've done in the past. Again, I'm a virtual wholesaler. I purchased 2 properties in my first year of wholesaling real estate, but that was a major milestone for me because I was like, okay, I'm a wholesaler real estate. I never thought I would have the potential of actually taking down a couple of doors.
Well, and you're 27. Hold on, like that's that part. Like, don't skip over that part. That's
27,
pretty young.
man.
That's pretty young, bro. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I started this business when I was 25. I'm currently 27, but I'm going 28 at the end of this year. So I'm just every day is, I have to turn it up. Like I live every day like, okay, how can I really move that needle? I was in the back of my head like, what can I do today that's going to really push this business forward and get me further into my journey? So a couple of years of that, man, I've been really going at it hard for sure. So my first property I bought, it was like a quick flip. I took it down for, and this is no lie, I could pull up the HUDs and everything. I took a property down for about, I'm trying to remember, it's like $1,800 tenant occupied in Akron, Ohio. The house needed everything. The retaining wall was falling apart. The city was on the previous seller's back. I had a lot of issues with it, but the seller's like, Kareem, at this point, it's not even about the money. We have a major dispute with the tenant. We're on really bad terms with them. We just want some peace of mind. So at this point, if you could just recoup some of the lost rent that we've lost for the past couple of years, that would be great. So it went from their initial asking price of $20K down to $1,800. And I'm like, man, I never bought a house before because I was dealing with somebody local. And it was so intimidating at the time, but I was like, $1,800, it's a no-brainer. So I took it out for $1,800, tenant occupied. I got 1 month worth of rent. Super risky, by the way. Like, I shouldn't inherit this tenant, but it still worked out because I built such a good rapport with her. I collected 1 month of rent and I sold it. I sold it 5 days within, like, once I purchased that property for $20K, and it took 30 days to close. But that amount of profit, it was like about $16K after all closing costs and things shook out. $16K profit, very significant wholesale check for myself. again, I'm working at a 9 to 5. Like it would have taken me like years to save up to 11K, 16, 20,000. So the fact I'm making these checks in one sum, like it gets addicting. You know, you take that money, you
25.
reinvest in it
That ain't bad. That ain't
at
bad.
25 years old for sure.
And
So
before
like,
you get started, Kareem, I don't mean to cut you off. I
no, you
apologize.
good.
You know, this is a wholesaling class. He's gonna talk about wholesaling, but I want people to understand. I like to almost call it direct to seller, like my guy Sean Ackerman, right?
Yes.
Going direct or just being able to find properties on discount. You can choose to exit however you choose to exit. Today, we're talking about choosing to exit via selling the property as a wholesale deal, right? But the same skills that we're going to learn today, and I really want people to get this piece, these skills apply whether you're buying, hold or not, right? The whole game is just being able to acquire properties on discount. That's the game. And then however you choose to exit, however you choose to exit. Back to you, Kareem.
No, that's so true. And I really want to dig into that point too, because I never forget you were showing up to when I was a mentee. Well, I'm always learning, man, honestly. But you showed up to mid 215's class, and something that you really honed in on was when you make an offer on property, when you put it under contract, you need to have multiple exit strategies. Like to this day, like I don't buy a property unless I know I can wholesale it quickly for cash. I can sell it finance and hold a promissory note on it. I can buy and hold, fix and flip, sometimes novations. It's always best to have options. You know, you really can find a mistake when you buy specifically just to kind of arbitrage your Airbnb, like we were talking about, or something like that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you do it thinking, oh, if I do this, it's going to work out that way. If there's some faults along that way, then you're stuck in that property. So the name of the game of wholesaling, that's why it's such a great building base, because it really teaches you how to get properties under contract, direct to seller for discount. And that's most important. But before we jump right into wholesale, I kind of want to paint a picture about, again, who I am, where I come from. So this journey started about 3 years ago, 2021. I was unemployed. I was coming out of the engineering field. I was unemployed. Unemployment, that the whole COVID boom with things like that was drying up for me, and I'm washing cars, you know, for cash under the table. I'm literally making like $350 a week. Like I was barely sustaining myself for real. It was crazy. And at the time, like with my wife, she was going to nursing school, so she was working, and she like, Green, like I'm about to go full-time nursing school. I need to lock in. And she left her job, and I knew I had to cover the bills for both of us, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I left that detail shop. I went back into engineering because I never wanted to be working, you know, corporate engineering at that design engineer, which, you know, it sounds cool and everything. Is, you know, it was good pay for sure. But it was a type of environment I wasn't too happy with, right? But I knew what I had to do at the moment. So I got back into it. It was a virtual office job, and I'm working, right? I picked up the job, but I knew that I didn't want this for the rest of my life. Like there had to be something else. There had to be some sort of breakthrough for me to replace this at some point in my life, right? So that summer 2021, you know, I'm looking up side hustles, you know, Amazon FBA, all sorts of things, right? And I came across, again, shout out to my first real estate mentor, Mid 215 from Philly, and he's on a podcast talking about being a middleman in real estate transactions. I'm like, what is that? Because in my head, I always wanted to own real estate, but I need 20% saved up, all sorts of money. Like it would take me years of working to save up to buy one piece of property. But he's teaching how you don't need cash or credit. You can enter real estate transaction, be the middleman. You're flipping the contract from the seller to the buyer. You're building experience, and you're making money in that process in 30 days or less, typically, right? And I'm completely intrigued at this point. I'm like, I got to learn more about this. I'm this is something I definitely wanted to jump into. And I remember at the time, man, I was like, I never bought an Instagram course. Like I'm super skeptical. I'm like, what? Like people buy a course on Instagram? But I was like, what do I have to lose? I spent thousands of dollars on student loan debt, right? That I'm paying to this day. What is an $800 course at the time? And that moment right there was like probably the best decision I made in my life to this day. Like that's how I got into wholesaling real estate. That's how I got into real estate. Because once you make that entry into wholesaling, it's going to go into buying holds and all sorts of things, whatever you want to take it. So with a whole lot of hard working, man, and being coachable, man, you know, you could really change your life with this stuff for sure. So I didn't come from some crazy sales position, things like that. Like the whole idea of even cold call when I first started, man, it was like very intimidating too. But you know, it's a lot. The life you're looking for is on the other side of fear, for sure. So let's get right into it. So these are some kind of mental frames that I've had when I came into wholesale, and I still hold on to this day. You don't want to have microwave thoughts, right? You're always a millionaire in your head way before you even get there. And I'm sure Najee can attest to that too. Anything of value takes time. So I knew it wasn't so get rich overnight. This is like a brand new skill. I knew I was going to suck at this skill because it's brand new. Nobody came out the womb knowing real estate, how to wholesale real estate, X, Y, and Z. So I knew it was going to take time of me just showing up every day, making mistakes, telling myself, like, it's okay. I made a mistake. Let me get back into it. Because when you bog down on making mistakes and stuff, that's how you really find yourself complacent. Give yourself the grace that you're going to make mistakes, right? And understand it's going to take time. Having that growth mindset, right? So strive for knowledge, taking calculated risks, continuously challenging yourself, very important. Solution-oriented approach, right? So when it comes to these off-market wholesale deals, like it's a reason why they're selling their property at a discount. If everything was very beautiful in their life and the property was nice and fixed up, they could just list it for retail. So when issues pop up, whether the tenant's not paying the seller's going through some financial hardships, understand you should be looking for the solution. We're always looking for problems to solve because that's how us, honestly, as wholesalers get paid in this business, right? I'm always looking for a problem. I'm a solution-based oriented person, man, and I apply that into wholesale real estate. Abundance mindset. Here's the big one, man. There's enough wealth around for all of us to obtain. There's enough deals for us all in a particular market. Now, scarcity of inventory, that's a real thing for sure, but I'm never looking at the other wholesale like, oh, he's about to take some money off my plate. I'm like, I'm just gonna work day in and day out until I'm gonna create the life I want. You know what I mean? I'm always looking to collaborate too. So just understand this is a very abundant world. People are always selling and buying their homes. So here's like a bird's eye view, very straightforward, clean cut overview of wholesaling, what this looks like. So first and foremost, you're finding a property that are undervalued or in need of repair or maintenance, right? Sometimes they're underperforming. Tenants paying way less than they should be. The landlord doesn't have an actual lease in place. He doesn't want to talk to the tenant. Could be so many different issues with the particular property, right? You want to go ahead and contact that owner directly. Whoever name is on the deed is who you should be talking to. Whoever that is, that final decision maker for the property is who I should be talking to, right? You want to build rapport with that seller and get that deal under contract. Building rapport is very important. Real estate is a people's business first and foremost. Money doesn't just fly into your bank account. It goes from one person to the other. So building rapport with that seller, understanding where they're coming from, just being a human. If you're coming off as super customer service, Comcast support, people can see right through that stuff. They can see like how not authentic that sounds. So be yourself, be authentic. Don't feel like you gotta sound like some, crazy high salesperson, nothing like that. Just honestly be yourself. So once you have it under contract, you're gonna have to assign the rights to purchase that contract to your end buyer. And that's how us, again, as wholesalers, we collect our assignment fee, right? So the process is acquisitions, direct to seller, figure out the pain points, X, Y, and Z. You get that property under contract. Then you take that, you now have an equitable interest in that property. You're now taking that contract, you're looking for buyers, right? And I'm gonna dive into like different examples. You're taking that contract and then you go out into the market, see who's active in that market, your local landlords, your local fix and flippers. Like, hey, I got this property 123 Main Street. I noticed you just bought one a couple blocks over. This one's for sale right now for $25K. Meanwhile, you have the contract to the seller for $10,000. And then boom, that's how you make your 15K in between. Now, again, those are fake numbers and it sounds super easy on paper. It's all about the execution. It really is that simple, but the execution is where the hard work comes in. So once you have your seller and your buyer, you open up escrow with a certified title company. They do all the legal work. Your buyer pays the closing costs, and you make your assignment fee at the day of closing. So let's talk about sourcing the deal, man. So whether you're a wholesaler, or you want some good, multifamilies, buying whole situations, fixing flips, when you're direct to the person who's selling that property, there's no real estate agents, nothing against agents by any means. There's no real estate agents in between, no one else getting paid out in the deal. Like you're direct to seller. So therefore you have a lot of leverage of negotiations with that seller. And just like any other business, it's real estate business, man. You're buying low and you're selling high. So my goal is to get that property under contract as low as possible. Again, whether I'm going to wholesale the property to a different buyer or I'm going to add that to my own portfolio, right? So here's a few great ways, man. Driving for dollars, very low expense. It's just probably, gas money, and that's about it. So there's deals right now wherever you live in America, right in your backyard. You want to be looking for overflowing mailboxes, high grass, might be a tarp on the roof, just signs of distressed situations. And that's what we're looking for. Really, is the ones that really need some fixing up in the neighborhood. These are great starters for finding your first deal, honestly. So drive around, write down some addresses. You could go on a place called True People Search. Put in that address, it'll have like a list of potential phone numbers associated to that address. And this is where you got to put in the work. You just pick up a Google Voice number and start banging out the phone call. Hey, I see your property on 123 Main Street. Is this a property you ever thought about selling? Just keep it simple, keep it light, be yourself, and let the conversation come out. And there's a whole art behind, pulling out the pain points from a seller that we'll get into for sure. Another great way is skip trace list services. This is what I do to this day. So I'll go on like Fiverr.com, things like that, and I'll buy a list of just raw data. And there's different ways you can pull raw data, but we could get more into that later. I'll buy a list of like 2,000, 3,000 raw properties, like just random names, phone numbers, like 8 different phone numbers, emails, this, that, and the other. I'll take that. This is exactly how I got started, right? So I was working my 9 to 5. Oh, let me reverse. I'm going a little too quick. I get passionate about this stuff, man. So I'll buy a list of like 3,000. I'll take that and I'll upload it to my caller, right? Because my intention is just to cold call this whole list of 3,000. It'll probably take me weeks, if not months, to get through it. So my commitment to myself at the time was like, yo, I don't care what happens after my 9 to 5. I'm gonna make 100 phone calls a day. F you, no, I'm not interested. Wrong number. Like I know I'm gonna get all that. No means next opportunity. I'm just calling and banging through this list until I get my first yes. It took me 3 months of calling 100 people a day to get my first yes. And I'll never forget, it was like Martin Luther King Day, January 2022. I called, it was a retired landlord, and it wasn't a yes immediately. He's like, oh, you're probably just a wholesaler, huh? And I had to kind of pump fake and pivot. I'm like really? No, I'm looking to buy for my own portfolio. It sounds like you had some bad times with other people in the area. And he's like, yeah, this guy, he's been wasting my time for 30 days. So at that moment, I knew it was on the same side of the table as him, right? This is all like a cognitive like ability and finesse really when it comes to this stuff. So yeah, banging out the calls. That's how I got my first deal. And it took about 30 days to close out, and I made 11K. And like when I had that first check in my hands for that amount of money, it's the most amount of money I made at one time. I knew it's like there's no stopping it. At that point, it's completely real. Like I made the money myself. I went through the process. I grinded for it. I took a portion of that, hired a virtual assistant. To this day, she's working part-time and she's just cold calling for me. So now she'll cold call, qualify the lead. Anybody that wants to sell in the next 30 days or less, I'm talking to them to lock them and put them under contract, right? So skip trade services, probably a couple $100 you could buy for 2,000. That's what I'm seeing in the market these days. That's a more direct approach for sure for outbound marketing. Referrals, man, it's a great one. I'm loving that a whole lot more. So as you really build your name in a certain area, or just honestly just telling people what you do, right? Show up to networking events, tell family and friends, hey, I'm a real estate investor. Like you need to start owning the fact that you're an investor, right? You're gonna be here in your mind way before you show up in that physical realm. So just that word of mouth is a real thing for sure. So to this day, I'm getting, real estate agents sending me pocket listings. I have people like, contractors like, hey, this is investor's out of state, who wants to sell his property. So those are great ways of getting leads to this day. I talk to the seller just like anybody else. I figure out what they're going through and I put it under contract, and I can either wholesale it or keep it long term. Marketing, both digital and physical. We live in a very digital age right now. Social media is very heavy, so take advantage of it. Don't be a consumer on Instagram, reposting memes and all. Nothing against that, but man, hop on there with intention, right? On my Instagram, I'm always posting about, hey, I'm active in real estate. I'm closing deals. I'm looking for more deals. Hey, look, I just helped out this seller. I'm in New Jersey and they're in Ohio. I just flew out to my market in Ohio. I can't even count how many wholesale deals I've done to this day in that market, but I have about 19 properties right now that I seller finance. And last month was the first time I actually went out there. So this could be done anywhere nationwide. I'm telling you, you could be completely virtual. And just documenting that the fact that you're out here doing the business, you know, just really owning it. And the more business you're doing, you're building your reputation. It goes a long way for sure. Like I'm seeing it in real time. Here's another great way: joint venture with other wholesalers, right? If you're not really comfortable yet to making these cold calls direct to seller, hop on Facebook, right? So say you're like Cincinnati or, you know, Jacksonville, Florida, right? Join all the Jacksonville, Florida investment groups and start making connections with these buyers. Like, look, there's buyers on this call right now. Najee, Don, like there's active investors everywhere right now. So it's very important to make these connections. So again, if you're not comfortable making cold calls, make these connections, see what Don and Najee of the world is looking for, or of the country is looking for, then look for other wholesalers and see if they have good deals or not. Or you could kind of do reverse wholesaling. Right now, you know, you have a buyer lined up. They give you the criteria that they're looking for. You could go and hunt for them. When you don't have money and experience, you got to use your time and your effort to really make something of this business. Like that's all I had. Like I had a maxed out credit card when I started this business. And I just started reinvesting. Like I started small, made 11K, reinvest, reinvest, reinvest. So I bought properties without using credit. Now I definitely could have like, you know, excelled even more, but it wasn't necessary. Like I would just go from one deal to the next deal to the next deal. It just kept funding itself like a one big snowball effect. This is real life, man. You could really change your life if you know, especially for the new ones that's on the call. Again, your first deal could be right in your backyard. Look for these vacant properties, right? They're everywhere, man. People are always selling their property. So, say you hop on a phone call with the seller, right? They tell you, "Hey, I have a property. I do want to sell it." To this day, like, make sure you screenshot, write it down. Like, these are the 4 things you need to get out of every single phone call, no matter who you're talking to, whether it's a very vetted investor or, you know, a local homeowner or somebody that inherited a property, right? These are four things I'm always pulling out to this day, every single phone call. Not in any particular order. Usually, the order it goes, hey, John, I see you have a property on 123 Main Street. Like, hey, I do own that property. Is this a property that you are serious about selling in the next 30 days? That's always my first question, right? If they like, oh no, maybe around Christmas time's a better time, that's completely fine. But I need to be talking to urgent, motivated sellers at all times. Anything outside of that is really not worth your time because you have lists of thousands of people to break through and call and cold call, right? So it's very important who you know you're spending your time with, because trust me, you could get friend zoned in this game. Like it's happened to me before. Like I'm on the phone with this seller, he's an old man, and we're really hitting it off. We're talking about sports and, you know, cars and things like that. Like, yo, at the end of this call, you're gonna give me this property for 5K. I could feel it coming in Ohio. And I remember, I'll never forget this moment. Like, we were really hitting it off, right? Just having a nice friendship. And I wasn't doing a good job controlling the phone call to like, yeah, let's, you know, building rapport is important. But if the whole 90% of the call is about that, we're getting nowhere, right? And I'm at the end of the call. I'm like, man, this guy's my best friend. He's gonna be selling me his property for very cheap. At the very end of the call, he's like, yeah, you know, it's really nice talking to you. But anyways, have a good day. And just hung up on me immediately. I said, "Oh wow, I made a grave mistake. That's not happening again." That was like my early days. So understand that, you know, you really need to be speaking to motivated sellers, man, that are ready to sell in the next 30 days. That goes into the next one, right? How soon they want to sell. We already spoke about that. Why are they selling? Right? Never forget this. So this is the most important one. Like no one just wakes up and wants to sell their house, especially off market, not going to a realtor, right? Again, the house could be in bad condition. They may have inherited the property and they have no emotional attachment to that house. They just want it out of their name. I've seen it happen before. I've wholesale deals like it plenty of times. Divorce. We'll get into different reasons for sure, but this is the part you really need to hone in with. Some sellers, they're more forthcoming with it. Some are very like locked off, and you know it comes with experience and expertise to really having these conversations, really like a dance, of pulling out that motivation, pulling out that pain point, because again, we're wholesalers. We have to understand what the problem is so we can really kind of get to the bottom of it and see how we can solve that issue, right? Of course, you know, they're asking price. Let them know the benefits of working with you. We buy properties in as is condition, no closing costs on their part. Typically 2 week to 4 week closings, depending, and as is condition. So, however the property sits currently, whatever they don't want, they can keep it in the house. We'll buy it as is. We're doing a lot of heavy lifting for them. So that's typically why sellers will work with a wholesaler or people that just buying as is condition altogether, right? And of course, condition of the property. Don't spend too much time on that, because like again of the day, I'm not a contractor. I'm not going to know exactly how much this needs. Now, if you do have an understanding of, rehab and renovations when it comes to a property, it helps out a lot when you get to the underwriting aspect of sending out offers. But just kind of go over the general like occupancy. I have a whole list. I want to send it to you and Ajay. You could probably send it out, but like I'll go through like, hey, how old is the roof? How old is the hot water tank and the furnace? Is the foundation? Is there any shifting of the bricks? Right. I'm asking the important things. The cosmetic stuff, that's subjective. Electrical, is it knob and tube we're dealing with, or is it an electrical panel? Right. Is it PVC piping, PEX piping? Like I'm going for the straight mechanicals that my end buyer investor will be probably be asking me. Especially that roof, So condition when you're brand new, like you'll get used to that. Don't feel like you need to know how to rehab a house to be able to wholesale a property. Like you'll build that along the way. So why would a seller even sell at a discount, right? It's such an important question. So again, here's some burdens and motivating factors for plenty of sellers that people like life just happens to people altogether, right? So financial difficulties, like right now, inflation is pretty high. Like Anajay could definitely talk on things like this. Say somebody has a mortgage on the house that they live in with their family, and for some reason they were trying to sell their previous house, but they didn't sell, and the sale didn't work out. Now they have two mortgages for whatever reason. That's going to bleed them, right? They're still paying utilities, taxes, and mortgages on a house they don't even live in. So don't ever assume what somebody's going through. Is best to just talk and get to the bottom of it. Just asking the right questions. This business of wholesaling and being direct to sell is all about asking the right questions to figure out what someone's going through. Never assume, you know. So financial burdens, job loss, high debt, medical bills. They're in a position where they have to sell their property quickly for cash. They're not trying to list it, go through a bunch of disclosure forms of going on the MLS. People have their reasons for moving the way they need to do, right? And it's important for us to help them, again, whether they need to list it on the MLS or they need to sell it off market. We need to understand what's going to be the best fit for them, because not every seller I talk to is going to be a good fit. If you just fix up your house and you want top dollar, you should get top dollar. I'm not the buyer for you. I'm not the person. I should be working for you. Right. So it's important for us to be able to kind of put these sellers into certain buckets. Like, hey, is this person motivated? What are they going through? How can I help them? Right. Divorce, separation. This one gets a lot, very emotionally intense for sure, because there could be a court order between the two parties that they have to sell off the property. Right. So typically you want to have a little bit more experience for dealing with these type of leads, but man, like, people go through divorces and stuff like that all the time, and a lot of the times a property can be up for sale because they have to sell it, not because they want to. So keep that in mind. Foreclosures, right? People get behind on their payments, whatever happens to them. And it gets to a point that the bank is now foreclosing on that property, and they have to sell that quickly to avoid that, right? Before their credit gets hit on that. Again, we spoke about inheritance, aka probate process. So I've talked to people out of state that inherited properties in my market. Like there'd be like 5 people in the deed. These deals, they take a while because there could be like 5 heirs to the person that passed away that owned the property. But the good thing is people are not really emotionally attached to it. Like, oh, that was grandma's house, and they just went to the funeral. And it's important to really have that emotionality, right? If they're talking about that loss to the family, don't just like zoom and talk about the numbers. Like, hey, when do you want to sell? Like, you want to really be human and really give that respect to them for whatever they're going through, right? I've helped out families plenty of time with properties that inherited from a loss or death of a family, for sure. It's all about building rapport, man, and being a resource and a problem solver for that seller. Let's talk about analyzing the deal, right? So what's your cash offer? They want to sell their house. You had that first initial phone call, you built the rapport, they kind of like your energy, things like that. Now they're like, hey, okay, cool. What are you going to offer me? Right. So this is usually how it goes. I use the first call to get those 4 points out of the seller, see what they're going through, how they got to sell, the condition of the house, how soon they want to sell. My second phone call, I call them like a day or two later. I'm coming with the cash offer, right? So this is how I underwrite my deals as a wholesaler. So a couple of things you want to have: an estimated rehab cost. Sometimes I'll send out a local contractor that I work with. He'll go in there, take some quick photos, and give me like a rough estimate what it costs to get it like rental grade or, high repairs, renovations, whatever the case may be, depending on your market. You want to lock in an ARV, right? An actual repair value. What an ARV is, it's pretty much properties that, honestly, it's going to be best if I just show you. If you pop in Redfin, there's so many different systems you can use, right? Let's just say, I was actually doing this earlier today. Jacksonville, Florida. Let's just pick a neighborhood. This is completely random. Let's just say we're in the market of Park Ridge. And let's say our subject property is like a 3-bed, 1-bath home. This is exactly how I run comps. Like I have some other systems too, but a quick way to really just see what I'm dealing with. Where's my square footage? Here we go. Let's just say my property size is about 1,200. So I'll go 200 above and like 200 below. Just to kind of keep, you really want to compare apples to apples, right? So we're just going to put 6 months for the sake of this. Let's just throw in a year. You really want to keep it like 6 months or less. Very market specific, but the more recent and closer it is to your home, the better. Now I don't have a particular address, but let's just say it's off of Greenwood, right? When I'm running my comps, like, okay, cool, I have a property, if someone's living in it, it's not HGTV looking, it's pretty clean, but nothing super special. I want to see what other properties in that area is selling for. Now, someone could be living in this, but it's a pretty nice looking property. Yeah, the kitchen looks pretty good. This could have been recently renovated and staged by an agent. Well, the bathroom looks pretty dated. So you just want to cycle through to see you kind of get a heartbeat of the market. Now this looks like a renovation job for sure, something recent. But yeah, check out the kitchen. Let's just say for the sake of this example, right? This is like, let's just say top of the market is between 275 to 300. You take the average of the two. If you could get 3, even better. So you got your 300K plus your 275 divided by 2. Let's just say ARV estimate is about 288, right? Again, it's like an extreme example. Like my market is much cheaper than like a Jacksonville, Florida by any means, but for the sake of that example, my ARV is about 288. The way when I come back to that seller, the way I calculate my offer to that seller, typically I take 75% or 70%. So 288 times, let's just say 70% in this case, takes me to $201,000, right? Let's say our subject property, again, like someone's been living in it for the past 10, 15 years. Like the mechanics are pretty good, but it really does need like a nice cosmetic update. The property's a little dated looking. Let's just say we put like 30K, 35,000 into the house to kind of get it to the top of the market. That means $166,000 is the most that my end buyer, my local fix it flipper, would pay for a property like that, right? You can use this quick napkin math for any deal that you're looking at. 166 is the most that my buyer will pay for. That doesn't include my assignment fee. Let's just say I want to make a simple like 10K on the deal, something pretty relatively small for a market like this. You take the 166, you subtract 10K, boom, you're at the 155, right? I'm not going to shoot initially 155 to the seller. I'm probably going to start around like 148, right? Just kind of start a little bit lower and then land around like 152. Boom. You're making yourself a little bit over like 13 grand, 13, 14 grand. So just kind of write down that little equation right there. ARV times the 70% minus estimated rehab cost is the most that your buyer will pay for in that area. And it's not like you're just making this up. You're pulling actual data of comparable sales that's in that particular market. You want to be looking for comps that are selling in similar condition as your subject property and find some comps that are like fully renovated, HGTV, if that market supports it, of course. And that's how you really kind of get a heartbeat of what's going on in your particular market, because you can't be pulling comps from 2 years ago. Like, oh, this one sold for 400,000. So maybe I could sell it for 350. Like, it's completely irrelevant. Yeah, that house right next door did sell, but that was 2 or 3 years ago. You got to really keep it as tight as possible in terms of location and the time or how long that property sold, right? So I like to keep it between like 3 to 6 months, typically, right? If you have any questions, feel free to come off mic. I could definitely dive deeper into it. So say, you got your offer locked in, you shot the offer to the seller, he understands or he or she understands that you're bringing a lot of value because again, you're buying it as is, no closing costs, all cash for that seller. Here's a cash deal of 30 days or less. They want to be done with that property for whatever reason that they're going through. They go ahead and accept your offer. Don't just celebrate on the phone like, oh, really? Don't say things like that, right? You just tell them like, hey, the next thing I need from you is the best email that my assistant or myself can send over that purchase agreement. So you could use things like DocuSign, HelloSign. This is actually how I lock up contracts out of state. It's a completely official website. I sign off as a buyer. I sign off as a buyer, and they sign off as a seller. Boom, you now have an equitable interest contract in place. And now, again, we're in the business of flipping contracts. So now I have a seller's contract. So part one of the job is done. Part two is finding that buyer, right? So once the seller agrees, send that purchase agreement. Do not tell your seller that you're sending over a contract, right? That could be a trigger word for some. Now, if you're dealing with like a pretty seasoned investor, man, like they've been dealing with contracts, quite some time, right? So it's not really a big deal for them. But sometimes you're talking to, some older lady, regular homeowner, it might sound a little intimidating and serious because again, if you're out of state, man, like, they're using their own discernment to see like, hey, who am I dealing with? Is this a scammer, right? Like they don't really care how many people or how many deals I close in the past. I have to show up and be sharp every single time and really prove like, hey, I'm a problem solver and I really do this, right? If you're in person, you're shaking hands with a seller, you're sitting at their kitchen table filling out a contract, you're definitely going to get that deal closed at a higher rate because they can see you're a real person, they can look you in the eye, things like that. So there are really set of challenges when you're doing business out of state, virtual wholesaling or purchasing, whatever the case may be. But don't let it stop you, man. There's no excuses in this business, man. Get right to it. No matter what, you must have the terms assigned in your contract. I could pull up an example a little bit later. This is what allows you to wholesale the deal, like legally in the contract allows you to assign your rights as a buyer to someone else. It's going to say Kareem Robinson of ABC LLC, buyer/assigns typically. So again, part one's done. Here's the second part, just as hard sometimes, to be honest, especially in this market. I was just talking about Najee with it. You got to find your buyers, right? You ran your numbers, you pulled your comps, you got a good deal, it's a good location, the property might need some kind of deferred maintenance. You feel it, like you can see that you have a good deal, like the data supports that, right? It's time for you to like not just take your foot off the gas, like, oh my goodness, I finally got my first contract. It's time for you to go ahead and close it so you can make your money now. Facebook Marketplace, that's just how I got started early on, man. I would just lock up deals. I was out of state. I didn't know any buyers. I didn't know anybody to take photos for me or nothing. But once I really packaged everything up for my marketing piece to sell that piece of property, I was leveraging Facebook Marketplace. Be a little bit careful with this because the seller can see that, if you didn't disclose that up front. So I wouldn't recommend being the first step. But man, I was taking all the risks possible, man, to get that first few deals closed out. Facebook Marketplace, but Facebook groups are definitely good. Again, you want to be networking. You want to be talking, telling people, hey, I'm a local wholesaler. I'm working on deals. I have several deals under contract, or I have my first. I wouldn't tell them it's your first deal. I have a deal under contract. You really just want to be, instead of Netflixing and chilling and on your video games, be on Facebook Marketplace. Make these connections because there's always buyers, hungry out there. You want to see who's buying actively and what areas. You need to be marketing your property. A great free resource is affordablehousing.com. I'll jump into that real quick, man. It's a great way to find local cash buyers in your area, right?
I have a premier account on that.
There you go. See? Now, Najee been he's an investor, bro.
$170 yesterday.
Let me show you guys what it looks like. So it's a bunch of landlords, just like a Najee, man, that's looking for tenants. If you're looking for tenants, I mean, they own rental properties. And if they own at least as one rental property, they probably own multiple rental properties. So you click on the listing, 4-bed, 2-bath, right? So real quick, let's just say where we at? Trent, New Jersey. Let me go back in there. My internet's acting a little slow. Let's just say I have a property off of Atlantic Avenue right here, right? I got my property right around here under contract. I see this guy down the street, he or she, they have a 1-bath listed for rent. It's listed by Hamilton. This is actually an apartment complex, not the best example. You want to look for your local landlords. Let me see. Let me stop playing. I'm just gonna go into my market. Toledo. This is a heavy rental market, as you can see. So boom. I'm in the old West End. I got a deal on the contract. I'm looking for a buyer, right? Boom. You can even click over here too. Because if they own properties in the area already, it's a good chance they will want to at least consider what you have down the street from them, right? So they have a 3-bed for sale, Charmin Section 8 voucher accepted. So there's Section 8 investor here. They're looking for tenants actively. Is listed by Matt. Here's his phone number. You call up Matt. Hey, Matt, I see you have a property off of West Park Street. I have one off of East Park Street. Would you be interested in taking a look at it? This is a simple conversation. It's honestly a yes or no answer from there, right? Like, oh yeah, what do you have for sale? And like, okay, cool. I have something actually quite similar to the one you have listed here. That 3-bed, 1-bath. It needs about 15 to 20K from my contractor that gave me a scope of work for it. You really want to be giving information. Don't just like, hey, here's the address. I want 25,000 or I want 50,000 for it. Right? They can tell that you're not putting in effort. So actually underwrite a deal. And I'll even show you. I'm a very interactive visual guy. So here's something I have for sale now. So any buyer that's interested in buying anything, this is exactly what I sent them. So boom, rental property for sale off of Clark Street, zone duplex. Section 2-1,000 square foot, appreciate neighborhood. Sometimes I have a lot more info depending on what's going on. I actually just bought this property too. Here's the as market rents right now, 969. Using rentometers, give or take on that. Don't give it like a grain of salt. Higher rents for Section 8. And these are all hyperlinks. So they can jump right in and don't take my word for it. They can vet me out and check out this information. Boom, 2024 standards. Here's a 2-bed selling for or renting for Section 8, 3-bed, boom, boom, boom. I got a 50K quote from a contractor to convert to a duplex. So like I'm actually sending out contractors and they're giving me scope of works and things like that. I have a photo pack, boom. I hired a contractor to go out there and take photos inside and out of the property, right? I have some comparable sales, a little bit older comps from back then. A few comps there. Cash asking 33K, seller finance 52 over time. So I'm everything that is, a buyer will kind of need up front, man, before they really dive in and do their own due diligence is right there. I'm always an open book. If you have any questions, let's hop on a call, talk about it. It's a numbers game, right? Just how you just pull a list of thousands of sellers to call to get that first deal, you need to be calling hundreds of buyers. Like, just if you really want to make money in this business, it's very simple. You just got to put in the hard work and the grind for it. So if I had locked up a deal in this area, I'm going down this list and calling every single landlord. Hey, this is Kareem. I'm a local wholesaler. I have a deal up at 123 Main Street. I'm banging these out. The worst thing they could say is no. Like nothing has ever bad happened in my life from people saying no to me. It is what it is. Like just that fear of rejection is real. I understand. Like that's how I got started. I was super fearful of it. Then I started doing it. Like, wow, like what was I ever scared about? I'm telling you, nothing. Only good things come out of it. So you put in the work, but let's get back into the presentation real quick. PortableHousing.com, again, great free resource right there to get your buyers. Leveraging your real estate community. Again, Don, Anaje, these are big buyers in Houston, Texas right now. So you can start locking up deals tomorrow in Houston, Texas. Hey, Anaje, what do you think about this? Boom, boom, boom. You're like, I actually like it. Now you made your wholesale check because your mentor is already buying in that market. He's already active in that market. So you should really leverage that resource. Absolutely. Again, networking events, I've gotten people selling houses through me from networking events. I've sold property through networking events. Just showing up, getting active into the game, man. Just get into the game, show up to these places, man. I'm telling you, it's going to take you a long way for sure. Finding your target buyer first.
Let me stop you right there. Yeah, just talking about the networking events, guys. Look, last Wednesday, I went to a New Western event with the wife. They had over 200 people in there. Oh, over 200. I would say, I don't think anybody made the whole rounds. I was probably only there for 45 minutes, and I probably shook 75% of the people's hands. Wow. And and we moved fast. Wife went one way, I went the other way, and we got a whole lot of numbers and whatever. And truth be told, there were some wholesalers and builders, but nobody had their deals there. Like nobody had deals there. Even New Western themselves didn't have any pamphlets there, which I was like, what are we doing here? So again, and I would say of the 200 people, I'm gonna say 125 to 150 was there to buy, at least. Right? Anybody that's been to game day, everybody that's pretty much showing up to game day is showing up to buy something, right? So go in the right building and come with your deals, come aggressive. I like your layout, Kareem. I think we talked about this a year ago, right? There's another class out there that I want to make sure that I got to re-upload it, but it goes through harder on this underwriting. It goes through how to lay out your, how he had his Word document there. We talk about that, like lay this out, hand this stuff on the silver platter for people. Where everything is just there. I like how you got the links in the same document. That's it's genius, and it seems simple, but you would be amazed how many people don't do that. Anyway, back to you, Kareem. I just want to, closed mouths don't get fed, y'all.
That's so true. And to speak on the docs, man, I want to create as less friction as possible, man, when I present this info, right? Again, I got the scope of work right here, so it should have been a hyperlink. If I pop it in, this came directly from a contract. It's not like the most beautiful thing, but boom, here's their info, phone number, email, and really just an itemized breakdown of this triplex that this sold over the summer, man. It's a really good deal. Everything's laid out, very digestible for that end buyer. So I've had buyers tell me, like, man, I love the way you send it to me. It makes me making my decision much easier. I said, great. Thanks for the feedback. I'm going to just keep doing that. So it goes a long way, man. Let's hop into this tip real quick. Something called reverse wholesale. And again, if you're a little concerned about speaking to sellers up front, make connections with these buyers and go hunt for them. I'm looking at these three zip codes, particular neighborhoods, 3 beds and up, single families, multifamilies at these price points. If you find that for me, I'm your buyer. Like, here's my proof of funds, whatever you need from me, I'm ready to go. That's a lot more. That feels more securing than like when I shot out in Ohio, man. Again, I didn't know anybody in that market. I was locking up deals with sellers and telling them I'll be out there Wednesday to take photos. Meanwhile, I didn't even no one to take photos for. So I didn't have buyers. I didn't have no boots on the ground. I just really just jumped off the deep end and made a way for myself. But if you have buyers already lined up, you're making these connections, man. I'm telling you, leverage that relationship for sure. It goes a long way. So cool. So let's just say you find your buyer, you found them off affordablehousing.com, you got your purchase contract with the seller, you got your contract with your buyer now, right? Let's just say you have a contract with the seller for like $40K. Again, these are cheap numbers because I'm seeing this all the time in Ohio. I got my contract to sell for $40K. I sent it to the buyer. I did my whole underwriting process. I know I got a good deal at the 40 under contract, but I'm not telling that to the buyer, right? The only thing that matters to the buyer is like, hey, I have this property for sale for $55K. Does this work out for you? Here's all the info that you need. He did his underwriting. He owns some property in the area. He's like, $55K, cool, that works for me. Now, again, this is a clean example. Like, you'll have negotiations both on the seller side and the buyer side. But that's just like anything else, right? Now you have your buyer in the contract for $55K. Cool, you have both contracts. You're super excited. You're about to make $15K. I'm telling you, don't celebrate nothing until that thing gets into your bank account, because stuff happens. Stuff happens, man. I've had situations where I had to sell in the contract, buy in the contract. I'm about to make $20K, and boom, IRS lien shows up on the house from 1980. This guy owns $140,000 worth of IRS liens, and there's nothing we could do. You can't really quite negotiate with the IRS as easy as easier as when it comes comparative to other liens and whatnot, right? and it completely crumbled the deal. Like I was about to make 20K. I did everything right. Life just happens, man. It's like the nature of the business. Some things are negotiable. Some things it just kills a deal. Like that's you just got to accept it, eat it, and move on. So I'm telling you, like it's worth the journey, man. I'm just push through it. The more challenges you face, the more things times you fall on your face, man. You're gonna learn from it. You get stronger. You become a better communicator, better negotiator, right? You get better at this business, better at underwriting, right? Just take it one day at a time. So again, after your purchase agreement and that assignment agreement is signed, you have both contracts separately. You send that to the title company. Don't take the buyer contract, send it to the seller, or vice versa, because like you're the middleman. You got to regulate and control the deal. You have to control your deal. You can't have the buyer talking to the seller because they could just cut you out. This is business, right? There's no hard feelings. Not all title companies are wholesale friendly. Not all allow assignment contracts to happen, right? So be sure to vet out your title company that best works for you. If you're local, show up, come in with some coffee. You don't have to kiss some, booty type thing, but just be a genuine person and shake some hands, man, and build that rapport because it goes a long way. My first wholesale deal, man, it almost actually fell apart. I had the seller and the buyer locked in, and I was making like 11, 12K. And the title company wasn't as wholesale friendly as I thought it was. They had me fill out a disclosure form. So both the seller and the buyer had to sign off a form saying Kareem Robinson is about to make 11K on this deal. Are you okay with that? And I was like, bro, why would they do that?
Wow. You ain't use them again, did you?
Never again. That was the last time, bro. I was like, why would they do that? And thank God, this is all grace of God. They just signed off and didn't even ask questions. I said, let's close it. So that's how I got my first check. I almost fell apart due to the title company. So vet out your title company is very important, man, for sure. Case study number 1. This is off of Downing Ave in Toledo. Again, very high Section 8 property or rental area. This is actually right by the university. I had this on the contract. I'm trying to remember, man. This is actually a couple months ago. Had under contract for 54.5. I think the owner had a mortgage of about 43,000 left over, so she's making like 9K on the deal at the time. I JV with a partner, so my specialty is really acquisition. So I'm really direct to seller. I lock up deals, and I have partners that their main focus is always having buyers on standby. Looking for deals. So I can really hone in, and lock in deals on the acquisitions and sell them off quickly. Because like I'm not greedy. Like I'm all for partnerships. I know I'm gonna get more. So if I can lock it in and get it off the plate real quick, if you all make some good money real quick, I know I can jump right back into the next deal and replicate that same process. So
Kareem, I want to stop you right there because anybody who hears me speak a lot, I say that the 2 reasons why people don't make money in real estate a lot, the 2 biggest things that come up often to me is greed and ego. I say this often. Greed and ego will stop you from making a whole lot of money in life. And what I like about what you're saying with this first case study, I mean, you came right out the gate with a JV deal. And I think this is genius because, frankly, most people that get started in wholesaling, they probably never get the JV, right? They never do JV, and they would never do it. I don't know too many people that really, does JV deals, frankly, in real estate. And for you to be young and understand that this is smart, right? Because frankly, making 5,000 is better than making 0. Most people are looking at, 5,000 is less than 10 and I can make the 10. But 5 is better than 0, and speed counts, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, man, I just wanted to highlight that, and kudos to you. Like, again, it's interesting that that's your first case study off the rip, right?
Yeah.
And most people I know I know a ton of people that have fumbled a lot of wholesale deal, a lot of deals in period because of their greed in the transaction. They're counting money before the money hit the bank. And guys, I can tell you for certainty, I've lost money that way, right? That's why I speak on greed and ego so much, right? So anyway, back to you, man.
No, that's precisely true, man. And it kind of comes back to that microwave mindset, right? If you have that limited belief that, like, okay, this is about to be the last 10,500 I'm going to make for the next 3 or 4 months, then that's your reality because you already put it in your head. The way I look at it is money's not real. They're printing this money every day. People are always buying and selling. So why am I worried about splitting one deal when we could do 20, 30 deals together instead of losing a relationship over one deal? That's just the way I look at it. So you got a buyer right now. They looking to buy this right now. Let's do it. That's JV, bang, bang, bang. And it doesn't always have to be a 50-50. Some people do 60-40 because they spend 10% on marketing. I don't typically do that. Something that I've been doing a whole lot recently is, hey, I double close it quite often. That's like a different aspect of wholesaling. So you lock it up, you buy it for that one price, and then you wind up being that new seller the same day for the higher price. And anyone that JV's with me, they'll put their assignment fee on top of it. So like, hey, I'm looking to get 55 for this house. Anything above that is all yours because there's enough meat on the bone. I already locked up the deal so discounted that it's enough meat on the bone. They can put their fee, make their fee up top, and that buyer's still making money too because the property's still discounted. That they could go ahead and buy and hold and cash flow, or they can go ahead and fix and flip. I'm really in the rental market, so people are primarily buying and holding for sure. So many different ways, man. Partnership goes a long way. Just again, connecting with people, networking. You never know what kind of relationship could come out of that. So, yeah, I locked it up for 54.5. My partner brought the buyer. They were from out of state California, and they said, "Hey, love the area. It's by the university. It needs some deferred maintenance, nothing too crazy. $65,000. We took both contracts. I had to sell a direct to seller contract. They brought the direct to buyer contract. We submitted both contracts and our JV agreement because again, I'm not. Hey, I'm gonna get the 10-5 and then I'm gonna pay you after closing. Like, there's no backdoor type of deals. Like, we have a contract saying, hey, you get the 52-50, I get 52-50, 50-50 JV split. So we got 3 contracts in that case. Submitted to title. They do all the legal work. The end buyer pays all closing costs. That's pretty standard for these off-market deals. And we make our clean 10,500 together and on to the next one. We've done so many more ever since. Case study number 2. This is probably another JV, honestly. Yep. Boom. We had a retired landlord situation. He's been living in Toledo for quite some time. He had a few rentals. He was just ready to sell. It wasn't a whole lot of pain point necessarily. He's he's been in the game for quite some time. He's just retiring. Like, I get a lot of those, honestly. He just signed a Section 8 lease at the time with the tenants. Property was sold tenant occupied with no immediate repairs needed. Now, some buyers are different. Like me personally, I don't. In analogy, I'm sure he's the same way. Like I would never want to inherit a property with tenants because they're kind of used to things being with the old landlord, and that's a whole different conversation. But if you got a juicy enough deal, that new landlord coming into it, like, okay, cool. At least there is a Section 8 lease put in place. They're getting a percentage of that being paid by the government. There are other percentages being paid directly from the tenant. So it works for some buyers, some it does not. In this case, the buyer had no issues with inheriting the tenants because the lease was in place. And we showed all that documentation that the seller provided as well.
And Kareem, we just had a question about what does JV stand for? What does that stand for?
Yeah, joint venture. It's like a fancy term, just saying like you're teaming
partner.
up.
Yeah, you're partner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So again, you split and look, he's showing you right here. There's 21 grand to be made on this deal from an assignment fee. Kareem's taking half, Rich Realty's taking the other half, whoever that is, right? So, what and again, what Kareem is saying is what he's bringing to the table is he's going out, he's making the calls, he's locking up the deal, right? Now, what Rich Group is, I'm assuming they have connects on buyers, right? They have connects on investors that want to get started in real estate. He mentioned Cali, so again, I'm just gonna put this together for y'all guys, right? Somebody out of Cali thinks 53,000 is like pennies on the dollar. Okay, so somebody out in Cali, they're not cash flowing at all. You know what I'm saying? There's no rentals they can buy in Cali to cash flow for the most part. So for them, if this bad boy, I don't know what it's renting for, with $1,000, $700, what are you paying?
Like $1,500. It's a big one.
$1,500. This is a smoking hot deal, right? Yeah. Like, now there's probably no real equity plays in this or whatnot long term.
Right, equity's tight for sure, but
yeah, but this a smoking rental deal, right? So you talking 52 grand. Okay, I don't know what they putting in on it or whatever, but for the most part, they might be messing around cash flowing $900 or something,
This
$1,000.
thing was, and again, it was tenant occupied. It's pretty clean. It's a massive property too. 5 bed. This is back in the wintertime, or like actually early spring. It was lived in, right? Like, it's not the prettiest one, but as long as it's performing, that's what matters. So I think they went in there, cleaned some things up. Um, this is pretty typical from what I was told by the contractor. The wet basement, but the mechanicals were in point. That's a big, like, I'm always looking for this, right? Like, what does that hot water tank look? That furnace, that heating unit, that electrical panel, right? Things like that. Foundation crumbling. Because we wouldn't live in it doesn't mean it's a deal. Like, we had to really remove that emotion, just really underwrite it as an investor. And I underwrite from the investor standpoint. So I'm calculating the cash on cash return. I'm providing all of this for them when I'm trying to sell it to them. Whether seller finance, cash, it was a better as a cash deal anyways. 31% cash on cash return. Here's a few comps. Boom. And the house didn't need a whole lot. It was a big property. So locked it up for 32 direct to seller. They brought in the buyer for 53. We split it in half. We both made 10,500 on the deal. It's really that simple.
Hey,
the execution was tough. Yes.
Quick question. Do y'all double close out there a lot just because that's how you started, or is there a concern from your in buyer standpoint? Like, or do you have a certain threshold on like what you double close versus what you assign?
Yeah, it's typically certain. I start off as a certain threshold, right? If I'm making 15, 20 grand, like I always build good rapport with my buyers. I usually don't have like a trust issue by any means with them. But at this point, like I'm really scaling up. Like I have another partner now. I have a team. So there's certain people that have to get paid out on the deal now. It's not as clean as 50% this way, 50% that way, because there's different acquisitions costs to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So typically we found it easiest for all parties just to double close. We'll lock it up for whatever price we have it for. And this is what we need out of the deal for this to make sense for us. And again, we're locking it up so cheap that our JV partner is still putting some money on top. Or sometimes I'm selling direct to buyer too. So whatever the case may be.
And there's a lot more friendly title companies now around double close. Like I met a lady locally at a meetup. She owns a title company, and she'll pretty much treat a double close like an assignment now. Where she actually won't even let you bring you won't need like back in our day, Don, we had to have transaction and all that nonsense. But there's a lot more title companies like, look, if you they'll close the end buyer in the morning and close you at the evening or whatever that is, Yeah.
Are they nationwide?
What's that?
Are they
nationwide? Yes, are they nationwide? Now it depends. To be honest, I think it depends on the branch, because like I started doing that with Fidelity early on, where I could use my end buyers funds to fund the entire transaction. As long as we were gonna have everybody sign that same day, then like an example would be like I guess the seller would come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and sign the close. I'll come in at 9:30 on the buy, and then sign the buy purchase, the buy side and the sell side on the double close. But I sign both sets of docs at 9:30. Then let's say the end buyer come in at or 11 or 2. As long as they fund that same day, or everybody signs the same day, it didn't even have to fund the same day. As long as it's signed the same day, then they would execute that transaction without me having to bring transactional money.
Yeah, this lady I met, she's a little bit more stringent than that, but hers was basically if funding comes in, then the end buyer might close first, and everybody close after that or whatever, because technically the funds are there type of deal. But yeah, it's interesting because I hadn't met a ton of title companies that'll do that, but I'm meeting a lot more now. I've met at least 3 in the last year that was like advertising. They're like, "Oh, you got deals? I'll do this."
If you don't mind sharing that too, because my title company, they always say like, "Yo, we can't use their funds to fund it like that." So now I'm paying like $500 a pop per transaction funded.
That's also why I was asking why you were double closing, because I was like, man, that's additional cost as well. Part of that you can kind of push off. but like I've had
Yeah, I
wholesale
just
where they'll do an addendum to try to make them pay like both sets of closing. And as a buyer, I was like, I ain't paying that. But people,
nah,
some people
yeah.
will do it.
That's New
I
Western
just
man to be hitting dudes
Yeah,
up for
I ain't doing that.
Yeah, no, I don't usually hit the bar with it. I just kind of eat it, just bake it into the deal. You know, I just really, price out what I'm about to make from it.
Yeah.
But if I do have a title company that could cut that out, man, that'd be a game changer for sure.
That's also why like I had my threshold was 30. So as long as I was making under 30, then I would have signed. Except for my last transaction like a couple years ago. Before I stopped
Right.
being that full time, like I was like, oh, well, I wasn't even full time at that point, but I was like, you know what? 30,000 my threshold, but then on that last transaction, I forgot the double close and it was like 32K. And I was like, damn. But they didn't say anything on the assignment. So it was
That's
like, all
good.
right, cool. Like,
And
but that was
another
my threshold.
For sure. And another big reason too, when I really started doing a lot of the double closes, I will buy it for cash for super cheap, and I'll just sell or finance it on the B2C side. That way, I can really just change the terms and the nature of the deal.
Smart.
So
Appreciate it.
well, first of all, thank you, Kareem, for presenting. We got some time. Questions, anybody got any questions? I got some notes on some things that I want to dive a little bit deeper in for people, but hey, we got them here. We got a good chunk of people here. Questions. It's a safe space.
Yes. Hi, Onaje. It's Michelle. May I ask a question?
Of course.
Thank you. That's for either one of you can answer the question. But I have a hard time with the computer. I'm not computer savvy. So when you guys structured your stuff for your business, like what did you basically start with to help push things along when you're doing your deals?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say like let's kind of go over. So first and foremost, wholesaling been going on way before dudes got good with the computer. So I want to give you that confidence, right? Like this is wholesaling definitely been going on for, I would say, north of 50 years, for sure. So one, I would say keep it simple as far as what you're good at. Kareem is doing virtual wholesaling. I remember I first talked to him, I was like, man, y'all boys is on this virtual mess. Old school, Courtney, she's face to face at people's dinner table. Courtney Frankie, she's face to face at people's dinner table all the time. So however you go about it, don't necessarily focus on the technology and what you're good at. I mean, focus at what you're good at, right? I think being able to get in front of sellers, whether that's on the phone, text, in person, that's what counts, right? Do you need DocuSign and all that? No, you don't. It's just super good if you're virtual, right? But I know for certain I've locked up contracts with a printed out Trek contract and done. I've signed many contracts on the hood of a car, many. So that's a little old school or whatever. So I would say, look, you need that contract, you need the initial contract, you need the assignment contract, right? And these are templates that can be picked up. I mean, hell, shit, just messages. We'll get you some samples. So I mean, those are the two biggest things. If you feel good about technology and using PropStream and to get leads and getting on Fiverr to get leads, or using Remind for any of my realtors out there, I got an old recording. I'll post that somewhere on how to, Remind is free versus PropStream. It's free for realtors. Let me say that. If you got realtor access, it's free. If you don't feel good about that, old school bandit signs do work. They do.
Yo, real quick, I'm actually shipping out like a whole pack of bandit signs to my market in Ohio right now. So like just the basic things, man, just to get in front of sellers and get that attention, for sure.
You're gonna have like a runner or somebody put them out for you.
Absolutely. Now, of course, it's not me, you know what I mean, but somebody I've worked with before, so we'll see how it goes. But it's all part of it.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying, I'm not sure. Technology helps 1,000%, but I'm not sure that you need technology in this business at all, frankly, because it's you can still go back to old school tactics. and those old school tactics still work. They're just hard. The technology, what that does is it magnifies you and it creates volume, right? Like having a mojo, like having a dialer. I don't know what kind of dialer you
Yeah, let
use.
me, if you don't mind, I can
Yeah,
show a
please
couple
go through your
things
tech
too.
stack if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. Let me, and I agree 100% with Najee is saying there. Honestly, if you know how to operate Facebook and look somebody up on Facebook, you can do this business. It's really that simple. Like I actually like the fact that I don't need a bunch of systems and high tech stuff to be successful in this business.
Thank you
Hold
guys.
on.
I see like you guys all have it all figured out and I'm just like I feel like I'm not there with that. But I have one more
I
question because
was I
Onaji,
was
I
in your
know you
shoes a couple years ago when I didn't have it figured out. That's a
right.
fact.
So I
I
want you
know
to, yeah, hold on. I'm gonna get you your second. You definitely got the second question, but when you say, hey, you still don't have figured out, I want everybody to leave this call with the basics of what we're trying to do. Number one, we're not selling in this particular call right today.
mhm.
Wholesaling. We're not selling houses. We're selling contracts. That's first things first, right? And I think I and Don put it. We're selling the equitable interest of the contract. That's what we're selling, right? So I want everybody to leave this call understanding that's key, right? So the whole game is I'm getting a house for 50 grand. I believe it's worth 100 grand, right? And Onaje, I'm cool with him. He's willing to buy for 60. That means there's 10 grand missing somewhere, and that's your 10 grand. Okay. And that's all we're trying to do. It's that simple. I want people, because this is really a simple process. It's like it can get complicated because everybody got different systems and different ways of doing it and all this other kind of stuff. But let's make sure that we all understand the concepts, right? And I'm looking at your tech stack, and it ain't that complicated. So I'm gonna hand it back over to Kareem. Well, hold on, Michelle. Go ahead and ask your second question. Then we'll go back to Kareem's tech stack.
Okay, because I know for you, Onaja, I've been listening to you for quite a while, and I know you only do business in your state. So this question is for Kareem and Don. Um, I live in the San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area, California, and I'm wondering if either one of you would ever be interested in JVing because I have not ventured out to doing stuff other than trying to be local. Because everyone says start in your own backyard. Well, it's tough market here in the Bay Area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Live where you want to live, but invest where the numbers make sense.
Right.
That's always true. So Michelle, I would say, okay, so let's keep it real. You may not have a ton of deals out there, but
Yeah.
what does she probably have, Don?
Say that again.
I was like, she probably don't have a bunch of deals and houses that people want out there, but what could she probably have out there in the Oakland Bay Area?
Talking about besides the equity plays? Or
I think she
the
probably
funding?
got buyers all around her.
Oh no.
Buyers.
Funding
and buyers. Meaning, Michelle, you live in one of the highest priced areas in the nation. So
Yeah.
everybody's frame of reference is just that much higher, right? What you can buy for a house, what you can whatever. So you can be the conduit from Kareem. I'm sure Kareem just said he don't really like dispoing, right? Like he just said that, right? So
Mhm.
again, you might be the conduit to introduce
buy.
your community, your world to Toledo, Ohio, right?
Detroit,
Okay.
Michigan's, yeah, all sorts of
Detroit,
things.
Michigan. Hey, and your buyers might like, I don't know about no Detroit. Hey, but guess what? You can make $700-800 a month on over here. Well, then now they talking because there's no real houses out in San Francisco where you're making $700-800 a month on. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's true,
That
right?
is true.
So that's a way for you to, again, what we're trying to do is think outside the box and create and solve problems. So the problem you might be solving, so Kareem is trying to solve a problem on helping motivated sellers get off their house. You might be solving the problem of, hey, I have an avenue for you to make some extra income on the side or invest your money and beat the stock market or have some tax advantages and maybe write off some stuff and be able to use real estate as a tax advantage, right? There's a whole list of things you can solve problems for. Am I right? Come on, jump in, Darcy.
Like it just for some reason it just clicked. Like, bro, one of my apartment complexes I bought from somebody in Cali. Like he owned the apartment here in Houston, but he was a doctor in California.
There you go. So true. I mean, just yesterday. Absolutely. Just yesterday, I had buyers from one buyer from Florida and one buyer from Cali. They flew into Detroit and drove down to my market in Toledo, Ohio, and they inspected 2 properties I had for sale. Like, for somebody to fly across the nation to a Midwestern market, like, that shows motivation of wanting to spread their dollar further out, you know, because they might be priced out their local areas. Like, most of my buyers are out of state for a reason. Like, I'm in New Jersey. I sell to a lot of Cali and Florida buyers, you know. So real quick, here's a quick way, man. I told you guys to get a deal tomorrow. Like, if you really want to get about it, don't worry about the systems, your contracts. Like, that's all going to fall in place. But I'm telling you, it's very straightforward. The skill sets you should be focused on building is being comfortable on the phones, talking to sellers, getting in front of sellers, like Anaji said, getting in front of problems, right? A free way, like that. You could call these people tonight if you really wanted to, if you want to piss somebody off. But you don't know who you're going to talk to, right? You might have a nice, easygoing seller. Somebody might be more, short on time and to the point. Just understand it's not personal. Like, they don't know who you are. So just hop on the phone. Only good things can come out of it, right? So real quick, I just typed in Detroit, Michigan, right? It's a great real estate market for sure. I know quite a few investors in this market. You want to go to the filters tab, right? Typically, when you pull up Zillow, you see everything for sale is usually on the market. As a wholesaler, we want to target off-market deals. Don't get me wrong, like, I've double closed deals on the MLS, but my main bread and butter, like most other wholesalers, is direct to seller off-market, right? So don't focus on the MLS. MLS is the multiple listing service, which is listed by like real estate agents and realtors, things like that. When you go into Zillow, you go into the More tab right here. You click on For Sale by Owner. What this is are a bunch of actual homeowners that own these properties. Boom, you can type in that address. They listed the property themselves. Solid brick home, newly remodeled, new roof, plumbing, electric, HVAC, new walls, boom, boom, boom. Further details available for serious interested buyers. Right, 5 days on Zillow. Their phone number is already here. The hard work is already done. Like, you remember how I said, like, I buy a list of like 3,000? Like, I had to buy a list and I had my assistant just milk through that whole list. So, it takes hours and days to really, pull some leads out of it. This is a free direct to seller way right here. This is the seller of this property right here. You call them, you really hit it off, you build some rapport, get those 4 things out of them. Again, are they serious about selling in the next 30 days? The answer is probably yes. They listed the property. That's already showing some signs of motivation. Why are they selling the house? That's the part that comes with finesse and building, that rapport and skill set to figure out what the real motivation is. Did they inherit the property? Or do they have back taxes that they have to pay? You don't assume what they're going through. Ask them the question and figure it out. General idea of the condition of the home. Here's another sweet gem about this. They already took some photos. Now, don't take it as face value, right? But it kind of gives you an idea of what you're dealing with. Like, the roof is not caving in, the foundation bricks is not missing, things like that. So that kind of helps answer that. And their bottom dollar asking price is already $75K. So boom, you hit it off with that seller. You see that, you build good rapport, and then start running your comps, see what things are selling for.
Let's talk about it. Let's dig into this for a second. Okay. This is a for sale by owner. Now, if we have time today, I'll teach you how to find properties on the MLS. I'm actually quite good at that. I'm very good at that. But one of the keys, here's the thing about for sale by owner. This is why people tell you to use for sale by owner, because these are non-professionals. Okay. Let's get to the psychology of it. These people are they think that they're going to save money by not having professional representation. Okay. Anybody who's a professional at anything in life, right? You probably might have some respect for other professions, right? Like, I'm really good at the things I do in life. So therefore, I believe doctors are good at what they do because there's other people that are good, right? But there's a whole slew of people that think they can do things better than everybody, right? I'm a huge fan of using people's ego, greed and ego, against themselves. Okay. Many of my best deals I was getting off of people that legitimately thought they were smarter than me, legitimately thought they were getting over on me, left the closing table thinking they were winning, and they were not winning, right? And for sale by owners, psychology wise, these are people who are saying, hey, I don't want to use representation. I think I can sell my house better than someone who sells houses every day. Okay. Now, we can debate about that, but I've had many conversations with some really cool wholesalers, and we all agree, right? I ain't never seen a for sale by owner get the top dollar for their property. It ain't happening, y'all. It ain't happening because they're just not perfect. Like, I mean, it's like this. I mean, you could go to school to do surgery, heart surgery. Who do you want to go to? You want to go to the guy that did one surgery in their life or did 10 a day? You know what I'm saying? Like that's it, right? So again, for sale by owner can be advantageous if you want to. I wish you stayed on that one, but that one
Let me go
property
back.
pulled up. Again, I wanted to highlight something on that. No, I won't say no realtor. Go back to one for 75. Go, yeah, click on that right quick. Click on the pictures. I want to point something out to you guys. Keep going. Go to that kitchen picture. This person listed this property. I mean, look at the pictures here, and it doesn't it doesn't. And I'm sorry to take over, Kareem. I'm gonna get back to you, whatever.
Oh, you
I'd
good?
like to just highlight certain things. I mean, these pictures tells you everything, right? Let's talk about the psychology of what's going on. Who is taking these pictures and saying, I'm putting my best foot forward? Right? Like just having the broom out. Like if whatever this junk is, that's dirty junk, this takes 5 minutes to remove out of the picture and then take the picture. And then all of a sudden the property just looks literally that much better. Okay. So, this is, right here again, they didn't clean the house. They didn't put another $10 Home Depot light fixture up here. I mean, like they're, and again, because I'm a good rehabber and I've been a landlord for a long time. I mean, honestly, give me $300 or $400, like literally $300 or $400 in a couple hours, and I guarantee you, we're listing this property. We're gonna make at least 10 or 15 grand. And I kid you not. I mean, Don's there. Don know about how to get through some rehabs or whatever. I mean, you give me $500 with this house, and I guarantee you, we're making 10 grand more on the sales price, right? I don't know if they're going to sell for 75, but the point is that's a great example of run your comps. Maybe the average price is 75. Maybe it's not. We don't know. Run your actual comps, but I can tell you for certainty that this seller is a stupid seller. Okay, because of just how. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? So that when you, that's where there's a laundry list of motivated sellers, guy, right? There's a laundry list of motivated sellers. I love out-of-state investors, right? I love tired landlords. That's one of my specialties, right? I go after me's of people who ain't got what I got. I go after the people that think they, for me, I go into the hood. I invest in the hood. And frankly, I buy from people that don't look like me, who thought they could come into my area, but really didn't know what they were doing. That's one of my plays, right? But for sale by owner is a great play, because again, look, we're not necessarily trying to get over on people, but people want to be silly. They want to be silly, right? Like, and so ultimately, I believe in my heart, for sale by owner is silly people, right? Like, because again, they're not professionals at negotiating. It's not that they are smart or stupid or whatever. It's like people who negotiate every day, they're good at it. They get to be good at it, right? People who understand what a listing picture should look like, they get good at it, right? My last flip sold very quickly, extremely quickly, to where I barely was able to catch an FHA buyer. That's how fast we were selling that property. And I spent $30 on virtual staging. It cost me $30 from somebody on Fiverr to virtually stage it. And guess what? I got way more views than everybody in the marketplace, just because I spent $30 extra, right? So again, not to hijack it, but I want people to kind of understand, you know, there's a lot of tricks and beyond this, right? There's a lot of ways to look for motivated sellers, right? Go section8.com. You can find buyers and sellers there, right?
Yeah.
Right. On the seller end is a whole lot of tired landlords that you might catch the landlord that say, look, I can't rent this house. I'm gonna throw it up on Section 8, but I've actually never listed on Section 8. Right. See, I don't get a lot of calls from that because our listings show premium. Like we're a premium account. I spend $180 a quarter on that thing, or however much they charge me on it, because that's how
more than you.
Yeah, they hit me. But again, back to you, Kareem. But again, all these property. This is when flipping goes wrong right here, right? So somebody, I got a whole avatar. I got avatars for all this. This is flipping goes wrong, right? Somebody probably came in, thought they could do something, and ran out of money or got in over their head. These are great people to snatch stuff from, right? Other flippers, I love other investors. I don't feel bad about taking properties from other investors, right? Like you got in the game and you know what you was doing, right? So somebody here, you can tell by the wood, right? Like, so right here, this picture right here lets me know that's intentional. You see what I'm saying? That's an intentional gut job. So the thing about what I like about buying from investors is that, I mean, it's less emotion, right, Kareem?
100%.
Right. And emotion can kind of kill deals. So anyway, back to you, Kareem.
100%. This, again, freeway, like the hard stuff is already done, man. You click on here, you scroll down, boom, the phone number's there. This is the number of the person that owns this property. Sold as is, mostly stripped down to the shreds, as we see, down to the studs. Structure solid, good condition, blah, blah, blah. Of course, they're going to try to sell it up. Each unit, they're trying to kind of paint a picture of what you could do with it. But yeah, they're probably hurting pretty bad on this. They're probably out of state, hurting out of pretty bad. And the way you can know where they're from, area code. Where's that from? That's also Michigan. I thought it was out of state. But I'm telling you, like, don't focus on anything else, all the books and courses. Like, get in, like, these deals are here today. Like, this is not theory. Like, these are real, these are all for sale by owner. You click on here and you just lock in and make these phone calls. You don't know what anybody's going through, man. Boom, property owner. Here's their phone number. Bungalow. The key of the game, man, is just banging out these calls, getting more comfortable with it. It's going to be uncomfortable when you first start. Just get out there, get over your fears, just push right through it, because the life you're looking for is on the other side of fear. And I saw that for my own self. Like, they taking pictures of the sneakers and stuff. Like, why I gotta see that?
These are horrible pictures, guys. Like, go back to the sneakers. So this is a for sale by owner, gotta be right. Like,
it gotta be.
Yeah, guys.
Y'all gotta realize some of those for sale by owners are also investors, so they just take every picture they have and throw it up there.
Absolutely, right. Or this could be an investor that's renting a property and they just walk through it. But the key, to me, the point is that if taking good quality photos is not top of mind, right, then you're not really doing if you a professional, right, whether you're a wholesaler, dispo guy, a realtor, whoever, right, someone who is in the game of selling property, they understand to present the property the best that they can, right? This is not a good presentation of property, right? So this person is saying, hey, serious buyer,
look at this.
Yeah, selling
the house less than what it's worth. Like, this is screaming motivation. They're going through some stuff. It has back taxes. I don't want to deal with a real estate agent. Why are you not calling them? Right here, phone number right here. He put it twice, right there, and it's listed here. It's been on the market for 34 days. He's motivated.
And to be honest, if y'all really understood the game, like, a lot of things that Kareem is saying and doing actually is the stuff that he's good at, that he doesn't mind doing, he does it. The stuff that he doesn't want to do or is not good at, he outsources it or partners. So if calling isn't for you, partner with somebody like Kareem who calling isn't a problem. Like, for me, like, I didn't like talking on the phone, so I'm not dialing a whole bunch of numbers. Like, I'm not calling. So I want the calls to come to me. I'll answer the phone. I just don't want to call people. So my marketing was designed to have people calling me. So whether it was having the bandit signs out at the beginning or postcards or letters saying we buy houses. But if you're calling, you're either telling me to take you off the list, or you're saying, hey, I want to sell my house, and like, how does the process work? So
let's get into the inbound piece, guys. So well, I'm going to answer.
Sorry, real quick.
Go ahead.
I bet. And another thing, right? When you trying to check out a neighborhood, just go into Street View, man. Look at these properties nearby. Look at that thing. Like, there's money in this neighborhood. Look at this property.
Nice house.
So this guy, like, his property's here. He's super motivated, and you got a house looking like this down the street on the same block.
That's a deal,
like,
y'all. That's a deal.
I'm about to call that one, like, right in the morning.
Go ahead, say that. He go.
So check it out, man. 100%.
So hey, I want to answer question. Don, don't go nowhere, bro. All right. So Aaron asked a question. Hey, for wholesale deals, they're typically listed lower than the market price. Are you generally able to negotiate them down? If so, the average. Okay. I want to rephrase this question for you, Aaron, because I think this is important. Wholesaling is just the idea of knowing that you're going to eventually sell it to someone else who's trying to sell it for retail. Okay. But I'm going to say wholesale deal don't equal deal. MLS doesn't equal deal. Deal equal deal. So for me, I want people to always focus on what is a deal, right? He just showed you motivated sellers via, for sale by owner. I told you earlier, I found a whole lot of deals on the MLS that got representation and all that, right? Because for me, a deal is a deal, right? I'm running my ARV. I'm trying to figure out how much I can get it for. I'm trying to figure out what kind of equity play I can get out of it, right? There's a lot of information out there that can tell you motivation. Plenty of people on the MLS are motivated, y'all, right? They're just going to the MLS because that's where the most eyeballs at, right? They got enough sense to understand that they're going to get more potential eyeballs on their deal. But that don't mean they can't make a stupid decision. I've seen plenty of deals on the MLS that are overpriced. Those are some great deals. Well, Najee, how can an overpriced deal be a great deal? Well, that crap might be sitting for 60 days when everything in the market is selling in 15, 20 days. So eventually they're going to start dropping price. And that's a great play to lowball. So I have no problems lowballing people. I lowball the hell out of people, right? Because again, you can go figure that out, right? I can go look up on the MLS deal, see who the owner is. First place I'm looking for is the taxes. See if they owe back taxes. They owe back taxes. They may owe 2 or 3 years of back taxes, even though they pricing it high, right? There's a whole lot of plays to this. But the key, Aaron, I think, is being able to understand value. I always focus on value, right? What is it worth? How much equity we talking about? And what's your maximum offer? Or where do you feel like you have to land? Kareem went through that earlier, right? I got to land here because this is where I'm going to be. And being able to say, this is what I'm offering, and that's it, right? So that works regardless of who you're talking to, whether it's out of state, divorce, realtor, for sale by owner, all of that works, right? This is what I'm offering. Now, if you want to get savvier, like, well, Najee, how do you add realtors in the game? Well, I get them paid, right? Well, how do you get them paid? Well, I'll pay them myself, or we'll offer and say, hey, we don't have to split the commission. We're going to waive our buyer's commission. Therefore, you get the whole 6%. Like, I got a whole lot of ways on offering to realtors, right, that we do, in the transaction. So it's a lot of plays. So Felicia got a good question. Are you
wait, but Onaje, before you leave off that topic, like what does bringing a realtor into it do? Like, what is the benefit of that?
I wouldn't bring I'm not trying to bring a realtor into the table. They just might be there, right? So in my case, we do look a lot on the MLS because the property, like, again, Kareem said, what was the first thing? I think in your first slide, one of the first things you said was, are you trying to close in 30 days or less? Wasn't that one of the first questions?
Yep.
Well, somebody lists something on the MLS, what are they trying to do? They're trying to sell in 30 days or less, right? So, again, two completely different approaches, right? But the goal is the same, right? Or the ideas are the same, right? So for me, I don't like cold calling. Don kind of, we're going to switch to, hopefully Don's still there, and we're going to talk a little bit about what Kareem presented on is what we call outbound marketing. Okay. That's going direct to seller, but outbound and calling people. Hey, can I get a deal? Calling on Zillow. Well, those people are listed, so they're obviously trying to sell, right? And then obviously he's called plenty of lists of people who weren't trying to sell, right? For me, I'll be honest, I'm comfortable negotiating with other people like realtors and negotiating because I can get real harsh, right? So I don't feel as comfortable talking to Grandma Susie because I like to be hardcore, and I feel bad if I'm hardcore Grandma Susie or whatever. I don't mind going hard on the bank or a foreclosure or a realtor or whatever. I don't mind eating a lunch. So I like inbound, right? And I'm gonna pass it to Don, and we can talk a little bit about inbound in a second. But a realtor in my case will be in it because let's say it's already listed. You see what I'm saying? Or I'm working with such and such, and I don't feel comfortable selling without representation. That's fine.
Or they want to list the property.
Or they want to list. I mean, my two best deals in life came from one of my frat brothers who was a agent on the deal. He brought the deal to me, and he was an agent. And you know, those two deals still remain my best two deals in life. I mean, I still own those two properties. Those two properties, pretty much, I made 200 grand off of those two. That 200 grand bought my 21 unit complex, and I'm gonna make a 900,000 off of them. So like that's gonna always be my two best deals in life, right? And that was a 40 grand deal.
We paid a realtor 7K, no 10K on a 7 unit.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically
they want to list it, and it's like, no, how about we just pay your realtor?
Yeah, how about I just pay you, right? How about we because that's a little known fact. You can write into the contract that I'm gonna just pay you as the buyer. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know how to write a contract that way, right?
Wait, so that's in OJ, that's instead of having them like having the realtor, you know, like advertise it and showing it to people, like, hey, we're just gonna cover your fee, and then
if you remember it, yeah. So I'm about to bust your bubble right quick. I'm gonna hurt your feelings. So we're part of a group meet, right, Aaron?
Mm-hmm.
One of our friends, I won't name her name, but she's a realtor in our group. You know her name, right? She's part of the other team. She posted in our group like last week or two, hey, I got this out-of-state seller. Somebody passed away. They're out of DC, and I don't feel comfortable going in the house. I don't know if you saw that post or whatever, but she literally said, I don't feel
so tricky in the investment people.
You remember this, Aaron?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. I DM'd her privately and said, I will go walk to this house and bring my pistol with you and with us. And guess what? We walked the house. Me, her, and Quita walked the house last Thursday, and we did an offer last Thursday. And part of that offer is I'm gonna make sure she gets paid. You see what I'm saying? And hopefully she don't bring it to market. They going back and forth, whatever. But I gotta follow up. But that was a real situation that you saw it. But I believe we got 50 people in that group, and I think I'm the only one that literally DM'd her.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so anyway, and you know who I'm talking about now, right? So
yeah, that's who I work with.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's a deal, right? Like there was a deal there. She knows how to do what she knows how to do, and there's sometimes where I have to kind of coach people along the way, right? I think I don't know if we're going to end up buying a property or not or whatever, but if we do, I'm sure we'll have to kind of coach her in how we're going to get her paid. And she may or may not know this, but she'll make more money with me than she would listing this on the MLS. I guarantee you, because I'm gonna make it happen. Like I'm gonna make sure she gets paid more than she would on the MLS. And
is that because you're gonna pay both sides to her?
Well, one, I have a realtor to represent me that don't have to take a commission. That's my wife, right? So that's big, right? So she gets to keep the whole 6%.
Gotcha.
And then two, I also can write into my contract to pay her more, which we're gonna do. So I'm gonna write into the contract. So we're gonna add a couple grand into the contract on top of her 3 or 6% or whatever she makes. So she will absolutely make more money with me than listing on the MLS.
I got you. Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
Where do I get a wife from?
I mean, last time I checked, that wife was your sorority sister, so I think you're good. I mean, so anyway, but I've used it as an example. But you're a lawyer, so you don't need. You're a lawyer. Not to give Aaron's a lawyer, y'all. She's a dope lawyer. And contracts. Last time I checked, I still believe you got one of the best leasing contracts I've ever seen. Okay, so because I still had that contract from like 10 years ago that you wrote. So anyway, but the point being is that you don't really need representation.
Gotcha.
Like you in particular, right? So my point is, everybody use your skills that you got, right? Like in your case, Aaron, I don't think you need representation as far as contracts are concerned. You probably know contracts better than anybody on this call. So, so if you don't really need representation, then that's a benefit to you, right? So like in my case, my representation doesn't need, that's how I got the Escape. The Escape, we literally bought that 8 unit. I know that we offered less than another offer, but the listing agent, we waived our fee. So she made more money with us than she would have with anybody else. Now, I'm sure she didn't tell her seller that, right? But she absolutely made more money with us. So again, there's ways to kind of, I don't want to dominate too much, but I want to use these examples of, one, again, solving problem. I think Kareem, what was that, like number one, right? That's on every slide he had, was solve problems, right? That we're in the game of solving problems. And sometimes solving the seller's problem is not the only problem sometimes, right? You might be solving somebody's family's problem, right? You might be solving a brother's problem, or in my case, I love to solve other realtors' problems, right? The realtors have problems. Their problem is they want to make money, right? So I like to incentivize them, give me that deal, right? Why do I like buying? And again, people say, well, you buying on market, that ain't whatever. No, I know how to underwrite, so I'm good either way, right? I've seen plenty of wholesalers buy direct to seller, they ain't no deal. So, whatever. But I like my MLS deals because they're clean, right? They're already at the title company likely. So we ain't got to go through a bunch of title mess and heirs and all that kind of crap. It probably is already open title. The property might be already be empty. Somebody have already done some things that will save me time when because me, Aaron, if I'm closing on Friday, we in there Friday night, as far as my team is concerned. So anyway, I did want to pass the mic. Kareem want to jump in. Don want to go in. I want to talk about inbound a little bit before we jump off. Don, you there?
Yes, sir. You can say.
Let's pivot just a half a second. Let's talk about inbound just a little bit. The idea of, again, because technically the class was called hunting versus fishing. So Kareem's talking about hunting, right? A little bit. Let's talk about fishing just for a little bit, Don.
Okay. Where do we start?
Again, you can call and be aggressive hunt wise, and we're always on a hunt, right? And you talked about, you hinted earlier about saying, hey, you like the calls to come to you. What are some ways? Let's kind of go through little tactical bandit signs, text message. Well, probably not text message, but mailers. What are some ways I can talk digital if y'all want to talk digital? What are some ways people are doing to go inbound, and why do you like inbound? And I don't think either one is better than the other guys, but they are different.
Now, I feel like I looked at it as like there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so every personality can kind of work. I knew my personality isn't one I've taught myself how to be an extrovert, but my natural state is introvert. So how can I be successful at this game if I don't like talking to people? And so I was like, well, that shit's not going to work completely. So let me switch it to where I'm not trying to call and gauge whether or not they want to sell. I don't know if they want to sell by when they call me. At first, it was like anybody that's going to call really wants to sell, but then you get a lot of take me off the list or how'd you get my information type stuff. But for the most part, all I'm doing is like, okay. And I just kept the game simple. So it started off with bandit signs because that was just the easiest, I thought, at the time. where I didn't even want to make the signs. I would just order the signs, maybe $100 for, I don't even, maybe 100 signs or something, and then just have people put them out. And let's just see how many, if I can be consistent with that, how many calls could I get to come in? And then I wanted to increase from there. And so I started doing letters way before I ever did postcards or anything like that, just because I thought it was simple. And so it was like, I just kept it simple and kept it consistent. And like Kareem said at the beginning, letting everybody know what you do. And before I know it, like, I'm getting deals just because people knew I was in real estate. And I, being a numbers guy, like, I just took the accounting stuff and it was like, oh, this is just numbers. Okay, I just need to understand what is the after repair value. So if somebody would have flipped this house or flip in that area, what would it sell for? Like, okay, I'm going from that. Then what are my repairs? And that's a big estimate. So I just came up with formulas on like how I was estimating what the repairs would be. And then based off of that, like, what can I offer, where I need to be, and then, like, you know, what profits we can make. But basically it was like, what can I be consistent at that will have the people call me versus me having to call the people. And so for me, it was a lot of bandit signs and letters at the very beginning. Later on, we start implementing postcards and things of that nature. And until like I stopped wholesaling, and then it was just I did a lot of joint ventures too, like a lot. And so even similar to Kareem, like on the dispo side, except for it wasn't 50%. So like usually, like, it depends on like who you're dispoing with. Like, it seems like a lot of the companies, the bigger companies, is probably going to be 50-50 type things. But if you have like individuals and stuff like that, like one of the dudes I was saying that's a realtor, like, that's what he does. And so on top of him wholesaling 80 deals, like, he might move 200 deals. So that's just one of many to him. So here we
And
put,
I think the market counts too. I would say whatever real estate market we're in, right? Whether you're a buyer's market, seller's market,
yeah,
I think that can push your dispo number. I mean, your JV split a little bit differently.
yeah, for sure. But again, I think a lot of that just comes down to personality. Like, Kareem has a similar personality to me of like, man, this is just one of many. Let me just make this money and keep it moving. Versus like, let me keep 100%. And like, you can have small percentages and stuff and make a whole bunch of money. And so I would say joint venturing, like, even if I had to pick and choose, like, from an investing standpoint, whether it's like with the wholesaling and joint venturing and partnering, flipping and partnering. But like on the commercial side, I've done solo stuff where we bought complexes solo, you know, wife, or we've partnered on stuff, or I've done syndications. And out of the three, my favorite is always partnerships. Like, I prefer a partnership versus a syndication versus being solo. Because when you solo, yeah, you make all the money, but you get all the stress. You get, when the financial things pop up, that's all you. When this partnership is like, hey, bro, like, you know, we finna lose 31,000. So like, I need your split. So it don't hurt as much versus like a syndication that will hurt even more. Like, I don't like losing my money, but like, you be damned if you lose somebody else's. So you have that stress on the syndication. So but for the most part, that's still like partnerships, and it can be a little bit more passive, just depending on how you do it. But we've gotten a lot of deals, including commercial deals, doing a lot of the same stuff, like inbound stuff.
Yeah, I want to, Erica, I think you asked a great question, and I think you probably got two different answers. And I want to shelf out those two different answers and why. I think depending upon how you choose to go about this, will give your answer. So Erica Hazel Group is saying, hey, I put early in the chat, you know, why determine the ARV before you get on a call? Does that waste time? I think if you are in the volume game, if you are in the hunting game, if you're in the like calling a massive list, then you're right. It absolutely wastes a bunch of time, right? For me, I don't have time to make hundreds of calls a week. I don't have the systems for that, and frankly, I'm not really interested in that. But I do buy a lot, or I am trying to buy. So when I do buy, you know, I'm a great negotiator. That's what I'm good at. I can negotiate my ass off when it comes like to hardcore negotiating. So I like to have leverage. So number one thing in negotiations is to have a bunch of leverage, right? So same thing, like Kareem will say, building rapport, right? It's the same conversation, right? Building rapport because you're trying to get information out of the person so you can then, frankly, use it against them, right? Or use it as leverage, right? To increase your negotiating status, right? So for me, having all of the information I can about a property before I call, like I'm not going to ask somebody if they're late on their taxes. I'm going to look it up. You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna figure out what they think the value of the property is. They're gonna lie, so I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna figure that out, right? I've already for me in the way I do my so there's an inbound piece, right? But my outbound, and if I'm actually calling, if I'm looking at a motivated seller, if I'm calling somebody, if I'm meeting somebody, a lot of times, a lot of people are calling me about a house. I'm pretty much, before I get on the phone with them, I'm really, for me, right? I want to know as much as possible. I'm going to spend 5-10 minutes. Let me see what the tax situation looks like. Let me see what the county appraisal is valuing it at. Let me run some quick comps. Let me see what I can rent it. So when I get on the phone, I kind of already, I may not be able to close a deal that day or whatever, but you know, I can kind of come hard, right? I know exactly where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and that makes sense now that I hear you say that, because it's almost like a cool or a warm lead, right? Versus if you have a list
Correct.
that you purchased. That's what I was thinking. Like
those are cold leads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would seem to slow you down, and you can end up wasting a lot of time.
Yeah,
so
I'm in the warm or hot lead zone, right? I'll be honest. Again, I brought Kareem on because I'm comfortable with what I do and what I don't do, right? Kareem is cold and warm or whatever, but when you're outbounding, you got a lot more cold leads, right? So yeah, this doesn't make sense, right? Like my advice doesn't make sense if that's the strategy. But I really want to also stress, like, you can make your own strategy, right? You don't have to cookie cutter copy someone's strategy. You know, Aaron, I'm picking on you because me and Aaron know each other for 25 years. So I'm a call you out because one strategy of mine that's obvious to you, and Don brought it up, letting people know you in the game. Aaron, that works for you. That should work for you big time. You got a good social media, right? You got a good platform. You got good connections. You got really, really strong connections across the US. The things that you got going on with your husband and his family and all of that brings a whole level of legitimacy to you, right? So, because really when you let people know that you're in the game, they really want to know if you can close, right? That's all they really want to know, right? They just want to know. Like, I had people reach out to me because they looked at my social media. I've had people send me deals on LinkedIn, send me deals on IG all the time, or I've put out offers and people were like, yeah, I accept your offer because I looked you up on social media and you look like you're legit, right? So that whole game of just letting people know that you're in the game can land you a lot of deals if that's something that's already in your wheelhouse. I know you personally, Aaron, so I kind of know a lot about you. So I know that if you just literally publicly said, hey, y'all, I'm buying houses, I think you would literally get deals coming to you.
Just jump in real quick.
Yeah, please.
100%. So something big with that, right? Like having these on market or even for sale by owners is great because, like you said, like they're already warmed up. They already listed it themselves or through an agent, so they're looking to cash out quickly. One thing I love about the outbound, right, direct to seller, you're banging out these calls, you're creating deals like almost out of thin air. These are not properties on the market. There's no competition. Well, there are other people calling them, but they say one wrong word, then that seller's probably hanging up, right? So that's why I like a mixture of both, because I could really go out there and lock up stuff that was never even listed on the MLS or for sale by owner. So when I present that to an end buyer, there's
Well,
not a whole bunch of other.
I think your income potential is higher too. I don't. I just tell people what I do. I ain't say what I do is the right way. You got to come up with your right way or whatever. I just know why I do what I do because it fits my lifestyle, right? Like I got two kids. I can't be called like, you know, I got a stretch life. I don't have time or whatever. But and again, you didn't say this, Kareem, but I'll say it. I think the equity deal potential is larger, you know, with some of what you're doing, right? Because if someone doesn't have an idea of what value is, right? Because somebody's randomly calling them and they don't have a realtor and they don't have this and they don't have that, then you know it's a high probability that you could sneak a property for 30 grand at, you know, that's 40 grand in an assignment fee, right? That's how you're gonna get those big assignment fees for sure. Like I'm not like, but it also takes volume and work, right? So, you know, I don't, for me, this is absolutely a volume game, guys. Like I want to be real clear about it. My way is a way for me to not have to do the volume way. Like I like that, but again, I also don't do as many deals a year. Like I'm not doing 80 deals a year. You know, that's not, you know, I'm trying to get these rent checks.
But you doing the right deals, man. That's what matters.
Yeah. And again, what you got to figure out, everybody's got to figure out what the right deal is for them. Let's see, Felicia. I think I want to make sure we Felicia had a question. Are you bringing any money to the table to buy these contracts? Kareem, what do you say to that?
No money. You're leveraging your end buyers, bringing that funds to closing. So you're not putting up no money for it. Now, only thing like in the contract, I have $100 in the EMD. Sometimes a buck at it, like, no, if I'm doing this deal, everything else cool, I need 1,000. I'm not gonna let $1,000 especially if I have it, kill the deal if I know I got a buyer lined up too.
EMD, that's earnest money deposit.
Correct.
Okay, so every contract does have to have what Aaron, you got to have some financial something in the contract to make it real. Okay, so and industry standard, what you know, what's industry standard, Don?
I know a lot of people put $10.
Right, but that's
so, but I would say,
but if it was on the MLS, what's the industry standard?
Oh, 1%.
1%.
1% of that sales price.
So that's industry standard. But to Kareem's point earlier, right? Because he's coming defending his position, you know, you know. But to Kareem's point, if you're going direct outbound to sellers who are not as savvy with the transactional norms, right? Then you can give them $10. You see what I'm saying? $10 executes this contract just fine. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to put some type of monetary consideration. But like I said, I've heard a lot of $10 and $100 a lot. I hear $100.
And I'll be real, like with my title, like I don't remember last time I put EMD down when I'm wholesaling, because I require non-refundable deposit at least $2,000, $3,000 for my end buyer. So if that seller ever calls up title, yeah, there's already money in escrow. It's going to get closed out. It's not like that money's going to their pocket. Like that's
let's explain that. Yeah, let's break that down. I hope did everybody catch what he just said. So this is really crucial, right? For those who are like, I don't know how much money I got to put up, right? So he's saying, okay, in the contract, you have to put some earnest money to make this contract valid, right? He's saying, okay, I'm giving the seller $100. Okay, he's got his assignment to a end buyer. That buyer has to put up some earnest money too. Kareem is saying, hey, I'm requiring 1,000 to 2,000. So in theory, if it doesn't sell, Kareem, you make some dollars regardless.
Yes.
Y'all hear that? So he may not make his full 10, and the earnest monies goes towards the purchase of the price, right? But what we're saying is, let's say worst come to worst, right? So Kareem locks up this deal. He puts up $100, right? If he doesn't close, he loses $100. Not a ton of money, right? Industry standard is 1%, but you know, Kareem's going direct to seller. He's going to a seller who don't quite understand industry standard, so he's putting $100 in there. That seller don't know, no way. He don't know that that's not a problem. He just doesn't know any better, right? On the opposite end, Kareem is fooling with a buyer who might have bought multiple properties before. So he understands industry standard is 1% or even 2% or even more in a wholesale deal. Now, anything could blow up this deal, right? Like there's a possibility that you don't close, right? So if Kareem's end buyer doesn't close, you know, the seller is kind of screwed and messes up Kareem's relationship and all this other kind of mess, right? You know, this is the bad part. But Kareem took $2,000 from the end buyer and only had to come up with 100. So worst come to worst, everything blows up. He still got money in his pocket because that's a non-refundable. And you said non-refundable, right? Said it.
Right. Because, you know, I stopped marketing to other buyers. So if you weren't legit altogether, I wasted 30 days waiting to close and you back out because you wanted to. Yeah, it's only right that, you know, I'm getting compensated for my time and the fact that I wasn't like I was upholding my side of the deal where I didn't sell the deal from underneath you, right? Like, oh yeah, we'll do a deal and I'll just sell it. Like that's moving in bad faith. So if I upheld my side of the deal, if you decide to back out, then it's only right. This is business, you know.
Kareem, if it doesn't sell, are you in order to keep the seller engaged in not just blowing you off like, man, he full of shit, like, do you give them a portion of the money to keep them, you know, keep them on or keep them interested in the deal for like another 30 days so that you do get a buyer that
Yeah, I don't
will
really
eventually close?
that's a great question for sure. And don't get me wrong, like I've gotten that, hey, you're full of you know what I mean, you're full of shit type of thing early on. So I was locking up deals too high. You know what I mean? I couldn't find a buyer and yeah, I had those issues too. Now it's not as easy, hey, I'll give you another $100, just give me another 30 days. It doesn't really work that way, right? You really want to negotiate, build that rapport. And I'll come back to this. So I'm like, look, you know, my financial partners, we inspected their property. Honestly, we were kind of overzealous when we first locked up the deal. Looking back, looking at what the market's doing and the rehab that's needed to be done, it is an uncomfortable conversation, but like that 25 we agreed to, for us to close out in a week from now, we honestly need that to be down to 15,000. It's uncomfortable, but I'm being honest with the seller, right? So there's a reason why that property's not selling. I had to reduce that price.
So you're having the seller come down.
Yeah, because
If that's
there's a
the
reason why. Yeah, you know, all my buyers went through the property and they're saying like, "Hey, it needs too much work. Here's my offer. Here's my offer. This is why I'm walking away." So I'm getting feedback.
The number
But
one
to
reason
keep
why.
them, but to keep them there, that's what I'm asking. What are you doing to keep them there? Because they'll be like, look, according to the
They could walk.
contract. Say
Yeah,
it
they
again.
can walk. Yeah, they can
No, no,
walk if they
no,
want to.
no. I understand that, but the thing is that you don't want them to walk. So I'm saying, if the first one, if you have that earnest money, and you know, are you enticing the seller like, hey, I need more time, and for these very valid reasons, you know, they may be like, look,
That's
you're
what
full
you
of
mean.
shit, I'm good. Like, are you giving them something to keep them on board because you actually believe that the shit can sell?
For sure. Yeah, if I'm pretty confident that I can move it, it's just like a time issue. There's been times like, yo, instead of I'll give you another 2,000. If I know my buyer just needs a little bit more time and I know I'm about to make 15 grand, I'll sacrifice 2 grand real quick of my assignment fee. Like, hey, seller, I'll give you another 2 grand. We just need another 2 weeks. I've done that like maybe like one time. But if all my buyers are walking out and they lowballing and things like that, I need to reduce that price and just being honest with them. Because there's a good chance they're gonna walk it. You know what I mean?
And
They're gonna walk away.
that's before the earnest money ever goes to title. Those are like two different scenarios he's explaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think this game is about pressure too, right? So it's a timing game. You know, you got to have pressure on that end buyer, right? I'm sure you apply a lot of pressure on your end buyers, right? And you know that I think that's probably one of the reasons why you might have a dispo, do a lot of JV dispos, because whoever's JVing with you on the dispo side, they're probably really good about pressure and buyers, right? You know, and when I say pressure and buyers, hey, do you know what a buyer needs to do to close? Hey, Mr. Buyer, like such and such, do you actually have a lender? Like, and is he a good lender? Who is your lender? Blah, 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 right? Like that's
so important.
You know, that's a big thing, right? Like, hey, who's your lender? Yeah, I don't know about that lender, but hey, here's my guy, right? Use this guy because I know they can close. Use this title company because I know they can close, right? A good wholesaler is going to really dictate the title company. And frankly, you know, depending upon the situation, really makes you dictate the lending situation, right? Don't be coming to this deal. This ain't the deal for your Fannie Mae product, right? Like this is not an FHA loan. This is not a conventional loan, right? who is your host, like who is your hard money lender, and does that hard money lender actually close in the marketplace a lot? You see what I'm saying? So those are some of the more nuances, right? And as far as, you know, let's say again, I think, I don't know, Kareem, what's the average are you locking up your contracts for on the seller side? What do you find reasonable that your sellers are accepting? I know you're trying to get the longest days possible, but what do you, on average, what do you feel like you're putting your contracts at?
For like a single family, and again, this is Toledo, Ohio, so super low price, like 15 grand for a single. And that gets you like something that need like 30K, 35K of work.
No, I'm saying time wise.
No, he's
like,
talking about time.
Oh, you said time. I think some price points. No, yeah, 30 days. I tell them 30 days or less.
Okay, so 30 days or less. So Aaron, so he knows up front 30 days and less. So he knows he can only be marketing the buyers that know that he knows it can close in 30 days or less, right? So hey, hopefully, I don't know if it's him or it's Dispo people, but somebody at some point is qualifying this buyer, right? Like qualifying that buyer, right? Like, so again, I'm gonna use you as a guinea pig because you asked the question, right? You have the type of network where you should have qualified buyers in your network, right? Like I know the type of people you have around you. We move in similar circles. You got different circles than me, but you know, if you were running this play, I mean, you know, you shouldn't even need to be on Facebook Marketplace. Not really. You know, you probably got a bunch of buyers in your phone that are like, you know, are qualified. So that's part of it too, right? Is making sure that your buyers are qualified, meaning, you know, they got the money, you know, they ain't dicking around, you know, all that kind of stuff, because that's really the waste, right, Kareem? Like, if somebody really, you know,
that's a great point. Yeah. No, it's so important to qualify, right? Like, I don't care who I'm doing business with. Like, I need some sort of proof of funds, right? And like you said, are you doing cash? Some of these houses are so cheap, they're just cashing out on them. Are you doing lending? Who's your lender? How soon can they close? But in my market, I prefer cash, right? Of course, they do lending, that they're going to need that 30-day period. But I'm completely upfront, like, hey, this has to close in 2.5 weeks. I give them a date, like it has to close within this time. I put it in that contract too. Like, you're putting up 3K non-refundable. You have to close by this date, or anything past that, you know, you're forfeiting that deposit. So they already feel that pressure, and they knew that coming into it. So I'm completely transparent up front and onto the deal. If they're coming in cash and I ask them, hey, how soon can you close? They say ASAP. They say, cool. Like today, what's today, Thursday? I locked up a deal Monday. I locked up a buyer Monday for the deal, and we closed out today. He was coming in with cash. That's it. Like, what? Like, why are we waiting 2 or 3 weeks? If
And
your
that's
cash
key.
ready, let's just close out. Title's already clean. Boom.
So that's 5 days. You got 5 days. He got money in his pocket.
I have a follow-up to that, and I know I don't want to like dominate the conversation, but
No,
I know we have to get off probably soon. But are you, when you like have the seller, are you, and I know this may sound unethical, but like, are you telling them, hey, this is going to someone else, or are you like, hey, I'm buying this from you, and then you're doing the wheeling and dealing on the back end?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah, when I first started, I was kind of like wheeling and dealing. I was kind of pump faking as a buyer. I would just tell them it's my financial partners. But at the end of the day, they are like, they're out of state. I'm really representing on their behalf in a way. I'm not a real estate agent, but as long as we agree on this price between me and the seller, I'm like, look, as long as we agree on that 55K, we'll close in 30 days. Anything outside of that is cool. And
You're
another
telling
step
that to
with
the seller?
I'm telling that to the seller, right? So I was kind of pump faking as a buyer, you know, and then I have financial partners. To this day, right now, what I'm doing, because I'm actually buying for myself, I'll tell them, like, I'm just completely honest and off rip with both my sellers and my buyers completely, of course. I'll tell them, like, hey, first and foremost, I'm looking to buy this property for myself. For any reason that does not work out, I have a network of buyers I work with, and I'll just assign it to them. Again, that 55K price does not change at all. I'll either be making an assignment fee or I'll be buying it myself.
Gotcha.
But what matters to you is we're closing in 30 days or less at that price.
Okay.
You know.
And Aaron, that's gonna dictate. You're probably gonna, like, again, yeah, I'm jumping in because again, I know you're from whatever. But think of it like this: if you got a network, you know a lot of people around Third Ward. Let's say you met somebody who's selling a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet house in Third Ward for 75, right? You know you can move that, right? You know that that's a hell of a price, right?
I'm buying it, first of all.
Yeah, you buying it, right? But it's the same rules. It's
Yeah,
the same
You're already an
rules,
investor, yep.
right? It's the same rules, right? So
Wholesaling is just an exit strategy, you know?
it's just an
whatever you want to
exit
decide.
strategy. It's just an exit strategy, right?
gotcha. Okay.
So me and you are like, I'm buying that and keeping that for myself. But you can also say, you know what? I think I could turn around and sell it for 125 and make 50 right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? Like it, and then in that scenario, right? That same house, could you turn around and sell that for 125 in 2 days in Third Ward? You could, right? Like, so it's the same concept, right? And again, that's what, you know, when you text me earlier, I said, hey, some people may want to make 10 and 20. He was like, may. And I was like, yeah, I mean, there's scenarios where you may not want to take that money, right? Because you might want to keep it because you know enough about the market to say, ooh, I'm keeping this, right? So
real quick to chime in too, something to look out for with your title company, right? My title company, they do something they call a blind seller HUD. It's just pretty much special saying like that seller, that 55K we agreed on, they're gonna see that at closing day. Whatever Kareem makes, that's on a whole separate HUD that they never get to see. Because I'm telling you, that could kill a deal. Like if you've been negotiating them down and they just see you made 20K on it, you negotiated them down, they be like, oh, I'm not signing. And they might just ghost you. So make sure you do a blind seller HUD. If the title company doesn't do that, then I recommend finding another one for sure.
yeah,
That's
But
not
you
not a
ask those
standard?
questions. You ask all those questions to your title company before you ever send a contract to them.
Yep.
Okay.
Like blind one, do y'all do wholesale deals? No, we don't do that, blah blah. Okay, next guy, right? So how many wholesale deals are you doing on the regular, right? And here's a good one, right? If you ain't got a title company, it's a real easy one. Call around who's doing wholesale deals and who are they using, period.
Yep.
That's easy, right? Like go to the meetups. Okay, if the title company is at the investor meetup, probably an investor friendly title company. you know what I'm saying? So, and again, ask them what they offering, right? Like again, the blind HUD thing is really, really big, right? Like you really probably, especially on your first couple deals, you probably want to go that route, right? Especially just communication.
I told you my first one, they had me sign off for both the seller and the buyer.
That's wild to me. That's wild.
I want for that contract. I'm gonna change title companies.
Yeah. So, and you know, there's times where I can tell you, you know, my first multifamily was a wholesale deal, and my bank made us put it all in the contract. My bank was like, I ain't dealing with this assignment shit. He was adamant about it. He was like, yeah, I get this mess all the time. I ain't dealing with this mess. Like this ain't, because again, some lenders, there's a lot of lending rules that came about post 2008 that really doesn't like wholesaling, right? Or the concepts, right? FHA financing, right? They really hate, you know, essentially you can't buy an FHA loan, cannot buy a wholesale deal within 3 months, like essentially, like they can. That's a 3-month seasoning. That's what seasoning is all about, right? Is, you know, people don't like wholesaling because they feel like if a property is selling for something, that's what it's worth, right? That's kind of one-on-one. But point is that, look, use your resources, guys. You know, if you're in the church all day long, right? Somebody in the church trying to sell their property, right? Like, you don't have to do this game. You can make this game however you want to make it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure, Kareem, you're probably doing some things differently than how you was originally taught.
Oh yeah.
You know, so and you make it for what's worked, but you also make it for what works for you.
Yep.
You know, like that's key. You want to make it for works for you. You know, and what kind of skills and resources and connections you got, and figuring out those connections. That's big.
I got a portfolio deal that I closed out. It was just like I picked one for myself and sold a few off, just by like people knowing what I do in my market. And like it's the easiest it's a small portfolio, the easiest 4 deals I ever got versus me when I first started. Nobody knows who I am. I'm banging out those calls, getting a bunch of no's. Now I got people, like you said, just sending deals to me here, this market, that market. Just showing people that you really do this, man. It goes a long way.
And even if, like I say, even if you don't do a ton of deals or if you're still new, do you have a network of people that think you're legitimate at something? That's something I've learned since, you know, getting public with my social media, right? Like, people know me, right? And, you know, the people that know me kind of know that, like, you know, Aaron, I talk the same way I talked 20 years ago, right? Like, I've been the same.
Pretty much.
Right. Now, you can call me a whole lot of things, but you can't call me a liar, right? And most people know that about me. You know, they can call me a whole lot of, he a jerk, he an asshole, he can call, you know, I've been called all of that. But what you can't call me is a liar, you know, and that's part of my legitimacy. That's been with me my whole life. Like, nobody will ever call me a liar about anything, you know. And that's part of my, well, I know one thing about OJ, he's gonna tell it like it is, you know. So, and I can use that as a resource, right? So, you know, typically, like, if I am calling somebody about a deal, like, and you know, we do a lot of Kareem mentioned reverse wholesaling. That's pretty much what Laquita does. I mean, that's what we do, right? We go shopping for people for the most part. And, you know, and it might take us a while to shop for them, but when I call, they know oh, he got something here, you know. So it's a you can use this however you want to use it, but I do think it's important for people to know how to get good deals and not wait around for real. And again, not crapping on realtors, but most realtors are not in the game of getting deals for people. That's not what they do. They're in the game of getting the highest commission possible, and that's actually driving up the price, right? Because hence I told you earlier, like, I have to oftentimes help or educate a realtor how they can make more money with me versus just their normal way of making more money, right? That's we got some other classes for that kind of stuff or whatever. I ain't gonna go hard on that, but
my actionable step though, anybody that's new, man, Zillow for sell by owners, like, don't sleep on it. You know, I'm still locking up deals off of the freeway.
I think we saw a couple deals a day with it.
Look, that Detroit, I'm calling right in the morning.
Yeah, I'm sure we saw a couple deals today. Just, you know, like you, I hope if y'all ain't caught nothing, you got that game right there. Y'all all can do that today. Right.
Lock up a deal tomorrow. Any part of the country, they out there. Just don't do it in like farmlands that doesn't make sense. Like, make sure it's an active market. People are buying and selling. You know, that's my advice.
Yeah, and Michelle, if you're and Aaron, I mean, you know, if you are in markets that are, you know, higher price that doesn't make as much sense, hone in on a market, right? Like, so Kareem, you live where again?
I'm in South Jersey by Philly. Yep.
And you primarily Toledo, Ohio, right?
Yeah, that's my main market.
How far away is that? 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours?
Nah, driving?
Yeah.
Way more.
Like, yeah, it's
I
like
don't know.
8 to 10.
Y'all know I'm a Southern boy.
Detroit.
It's a couple states over.
But
yeah,
you hear
like
the point though, right, guys? Like, he's investing in a specific area. And I think that's the piece where you are a virtual wholesaler, but I'm gonna push back and say you are a marketplace expert as well.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's my point, right? Become a marketplace expert somewhere, right? So you could probably have a robust conversation around Toledo, Ohio without pulling up a website, right? So if I threw a price out to you around some zip codes that you probably sold, you probably know if it's a deal or not pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, you know, it's to the point that I'm using my other sold properties as new comps. I'm like, look at that! I just increased the value of this neighborhood. And
yeah, and that's
amazing.
And that's something that I know me and Don have done a lot of times, right? We like to dictate our own comps, right? You know, anytime I rent out a unit, we'll list it on the MLS just to close out the listing to up my own comps, right? Which actually ups my own value. We'll teach that next time at the multifamily class, how to raise your own value.
Something beautiful with that too. Like I said, I do some seller finance deals. So even though I require like $5K down from the buyer, I sold that piece of real estate for like 55 as is condition. So now it's a comp for 55 as is, and I lock something up for 15, one door down or on the same block. So it's amazing, man, for sure.
Yeah. So
quick question. This is Felicia. So in being a part of this group, is there the opportunity to work with someone to like do one of these contract deals to really see how it works from start to finish?
Year one, I said no. Year there. So look, let me just hold on. I'm gonna shut this off right quick. Give me a second. Let me shut this off. Hold on.